The Pens do know the way to San Jose. What they don't appear to know is what to do and how to win once they get there. It has been over 17 years since the Penguins have last won in the Shark Tank. That is a streak they would like to see end tonight. It's the Pens and the Sharks, and it begins right now on Root Sports.
Sidney Crosby has played 6 games against the Sharks. He has never scored a goal against them. The only other team he hasn't scored against is the St. Louis Blues. Maybe it's because of this guy, Marc-Edouard Vlasic. He certainly has something to do with it. He's always matched up against Sid. He will be again tonight, as he was even back in the days when they played junior hockey. It's the Penguins and the Sharks in the Shark Tank tonight in San Jose. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to San Jose, California. Paul Steigerwald along with the former captain of the Sharks, Bob Errey. And Bob, let's talk again about Marc-Andre Fleury. I don't think we can say enough about him right now.
No, I tell you, the way he is playing, he's speaking for himself, letting the play do the talking. I don't think I've ever seen him as solid as I did Saturday night against the LA Kings. He was standing up when he needed to be, got down tight. There wasn't many rebounds when he was there. He stopped Gaborik, he stopped Carter. I tell you, Marc-Andre Fleury, well-deserved. 5-1-1 his last 7 on the road, and 9 shutouts now in the season.
Well, we have to talk about a great play that resulted in that game-winning goal the other night in Los Angeles. It started with a defenseman who probably doesn't get enough credit and ended with a player who is really hot, maybe hotter than anybody in the league right now. 7 goals in 7 games.
Yeah, and to score 7 and 7, you have to get to the dirty areas. You have to get relentless is what I would say. Always on the puck. Hornquist said, hey, no shot's a bad shot. He's looking for those dirty goals. He's shoveling pucks in from inside and out. There's a play by Martin as he crept down in on Toffoli to turn that puck over. So those two combining on that big overtime goal where the Penguins were so patient. Talk about patience, cerebral hockey, plus 21. That number is 3rd amongst all D in the National Hockey League. Paul Martin is playing as well as he could ever have hoped to play. The Penguins are going to be riding him and Letang right into the playoffs, Staggy. Those guys are absorbing big minutes.
And as for the San Jose Sharks, they are a puzzle this year. They have a better road record than home record, which is probably a good thing because most of the rest of their games are going to be played on the road. But if you look at where they are in the standings, they're on the outside looking in. They did not get a win on home ice in the month of February. So they're behind the Kings, who are behind the Winnipeg Jets. And these teams are desperate for points, which of course makes it that much more of a challenge for the Penguins here tonight. It's always a challenge when they go up against Big Jumbo Joe. In fact, there are a couple of no ordinary Joes that they've got to face here tonight.
Well, Joe Thornton used to be the captain of this team. They took that away from him in the offseason. They wanted everybody to battle in training camp. They don't have a captain. They have some alternates, and they're going that way. I tell you, this guy's a little bit older. But that does not take away his passing abilities. We talked about Martin in terms of seeing the game. This man, Thornton, he sees the game as well as anybody, and he's able to move the puck over to Joe Pavelski, who shoots it as well as anybody in the game, maybe minus Ovechkin. He's second behind Ovechkin. He's got 17 power play goals, 32 on the season, was out early on the ice, working on that shot, likes to go up high. Marc-Andre Fleury want to stand up against Pavelski.
Well, for years, scientists have thought about how to invent a perpetual motion machine. Well, we have one in Pittsburgh. He's a human version of it. His name is Patrick Hornquist. His motor never stops. He'll talk with Dan Potash in just a moment. Pens and Sharks are coming up. Malkin shoots it, scores! Rebound, score! Sidney Crosby buries it.
Well, the Penguins produced 2 big victories in SoCal over the weekend and are now looking for the hat trick tonight here in NorCal. It's the Penguins and the Sharks here on Root Sports. And Patrick, what would a 3-game sweep of California mean on this long and tiring road trip?
No, it means a lot, obviously. We come here and play against 3 really good teams, and like tonight, they're really desperate. We need to match their work effort in the start and go from there.
You have not looked tired at all with 3 goals in your last 2 games. So how do you keep it going against another big team from the West?
No, just keep it simple the first 10 minutes, get everybody in the game, and go from there. We know we have a good team, and we need to pressure them. They can't sit back in the first 10 minutes. I think that's going to be huge tonight.
Go get them. Thank you. Staggy, it's all yours.
Thank you, Danny. The Penguins have done quite well against Pacific Division opponents this year, with 2 wins over the Ducks and 2 shutouts against the defending Stanley Cup champion Kings, including that dramatic overtime win Saturday night. Tonight, it's the first of 2 encounters with the San Jose Sharks, a team they have not beaten on the road since Sidney Crosby was 10 years old. So, get hip to this timely tip. It's time for the Penguins to sweep a California trip on Root Sports. The Shark Tank is supposed to be an intimidating place for visiting teams to play in. Of course, the Penguins have had problems as we have documented so far, but the Sharks are having more trouble, and maybe they will again tonight because of the Kia starting goaltender for the Pens.
Well, Marc-Andre Fleury, 7-0-1, his last 8 after a shutout, coming off that brilliant performance in LA against Antti Niemi. A couple of Stanley Cup winning goaltenders. Niemi with the Hawks.
Mike Johnston spoke in glowing terms of the Sharks today, impressed with the way they've been playing lately, even though their record in the last 9 is 3-6. He said they're playing pretty good hockey, so we'll see what happens. The opening draw between Brandon Sutter and Thomas Hertl. And from the draw, it is taken by Nick Spaulding, and he slips it inside the Sharks line. And that'll be dumped in by Downey, and back to get it goes Scott Hannon.
Penguins want to get their skating legs going early. Patrick Hornquist talking to Dan Potash, and he said, we do not want to sit back.
The Sutter unit on the ice with Spaulding and Steve Downey to start the game, and Downey sends it up the wall. Scott Hannon ahead now for Barclay Goudreau. He dumps the puck in and turns and goes to the bench. So the Sharks make their first change. The Penguins are trying to complete theirs. Hornquist is on the ice. Sutter heads to the bench. He goes off. Hornquist dumps the puck in. Sidney Crosby's unit on. David Perron in after the puck. It's taken by Brent Burns on his 30th birthday and his 700th NHL game. Number 88 of the Sharks.
Yeah, that pales in comparison to the man number 12 on the ice. Patrick Marleau has played 1,313 games.
Burns not out here yet. Justin Braun goes back into the corner with Sidney Crosby. Sharks will start from their own zone. It's kind of quiet in this building right now, and part of the Sharks' success over the years is how they jump on their opponents on their home ice early in games. There's a quick shot and a save made by Fleury as it's taken on the right wing by Melker Karlsson, a free agent, playing on the line with Joe Thornton and Joe Pavelski. But Malkin takes off, and he's got some room in the neutral zone. Coming with speed, looking back for Scuderi. Back to Malkin. Across now to Kunitz. In front. Oh, Como tried to tip it in. Now Malkin overskates. And it's taken behind the net by Mirko Mueller. One of the new names for the Sharks this year. Mirko Mueller from Switzerland. Now it's taken defensively by Dillon. And he's a former Dallas Star. Sends it in behind the net. And there's Brent Burns lugging the puck down for the Sharks. He hit a man with it. Ben Lovejoy, who quickly moves it ahead to Bo Bennett. Bennett down the wing shoots it, and a glove save made by Antti Niemi, and he holds on.
Now time now for our Rivers Casino tips to win. Be patient, as they were in LA. You don't have to force anything. Help your defense. Everybody insulate the netminder. You need all 5. Team D. And match the desperation of the Sharks. Surely they're going to be needing a win, looking for a win here, and they're going to be motoring.
Derek Pouliot has it now. He was 2 years old the last time the Penguins won in San Jose back in '97. Jaromir Jagr played in that game and had 3 points, and Patrick Marleau actually played for the Sharks in that game. There's a backhand shot, rebound. Winnick went to the net, but it was poked away from him just as he was looking to pull the trigger on the rebound.
Yeah, that was Scott Hannon, got a stick in there. A great defensive play for Hannon. Looked like an open cage for the Penguins.
Now the Penguins trying to make it happen here offensively. Winnick works it down the wall. LaPierre lifted it to the net off a stick, and it floats into the glove of Antti Niemi, and he holds on.
Well, you need Team D, and they had it. The Sharks had it right there in front of Niemi with Scott Hannon getting his stick in there. It was a big fat rebound opportunity. You get pucks to the net. There's Bennett. Look at the stick of Hannon. Looked like Winnick was going to tap that in over the left pad. Just didn't happen for the Penguins, but nonetheless, Bo Bennett, only 3 shots in his last 6 hockey games, is able to get one there.
From the draw, Vlasic lifts it off the boards, taken there by Paul Martin to his partner Chris Letang, one of the best shutdown pairs in the NHL. It is dumped in now by Perron. Niemi plays it just inside the trapezoid. Couture sent it around off the wall. The Sharks trying to get out of their own zone. Crosby in on the forecheck. The lead pass tipped in, but right to Letang, who then works it ahead to Perron. And Hornquist takes it down for Pittsburgh. Dumps it in behind Justin Braun. Vlasic goes back. He's hit by Crosby. Braun sends it around the wall. Matt Nieto tried to get it out, but now Scuderi to the net, and a glove save made by Niemi. Rob Scuderi has not scored a goal in 165 games. Quick shot there, and Niemi had to be alert.
He must be saving it for the playoffs, Staggy. Sidney Crosby with a hit in that shift, and Marc-Andre Fleury, the wall. Yes, he has been the wallflower. 9 shutouts.
Look at that record against the West at the bottom. That's outrageous.
6 shutouts just against the West. Getting a lot of help in this Penguin team, bouncing around 3rd and 4th in team goals against average this year. Spectacular numbers.
Sutter leans in on the draw, and whoops, Dillon just knocked over Steve Downey, who tried to go to the puck.
Wow, he just lowered the shoulder.
Brendan Dillon going back for the puck again, but Niemi's going to play it away to the corner from Sutter. Spalling in on the forecheck. Now Mueller tried to work it behind the net to Dillon. Tommy Wingles just dumps it to the boards. Thrown back to the net by Downey, and then cleared by the Sharks. It'll go down the ice. It'll be icing, and a face-off coming up in the San Jose zone. Let's just take a look at how difficult things have been for the Sharks, particularly here at home.
This used to be the place to play. The crowd is loud, everything else. But since February 2nd, 1-7-2, the penalty kill has given up goals in 10 of the last 13 games, Staggy. That's not been good here for this Shark team. And ex-Penguin Jimmy Johnson, Larry Robinson in charge of some of that work.
This is a team that has done a lot of great things. Their coach, Todd McClellan, 40-plus win seasons, 4 100-point seasons. Now the puck pops up in the air.
Went into the netting and came
back down, and the whistle finally blows. Everybody was looking around for the puck. It stayed up there for a while. 5 40-plus win seasons for the Sharks under their coach. 3 Pacific Division titles. They just haven't been able to get over the hump. They had the Kings down 3 games to none last year. Blew the lead, and you know what happened. The Kings went on to win the cup. Amazing.
And now both those teams are on the outside looking in for the playoffs. They don't even have a ticket to the show right now.
Pavelski sent it up the left wing. Paul Martin right there to backhand it back to center ice. Burns quickly moved it ahead, but it didn't connect with Joe Thornton. Paul Martin back for it, and another icing call against San Jose. This is probably good for the Penguins to have a game start like this here in San Jose. We invite you to tweet us at Root Sports Pit using the hashtag PensBooth. Send your comments and questions. It's brought to you by Point Park University.
Well, so 1997, the Penguins haven't won in San Jose, correct? Yeah. But if you believe in omens, Steggy, it's team game 66 for the Penguins. Crosby's got 66 points, and guess who's in the house?
66.
Exactly.
And I just quoted lyrics from Route 66, so everything's working in the Penguins' favor here tonight. Here's Derek Pouliot. Oops, he turned it over, and Hannon jumping to the puck, slapped it, and the stop made, and now the Penguins have a chance here for a breakaway. It's Winnick shooting, save made by Niemi. Well, he stood up tall, made it look easy against Winnick. Looking for his first goal in a Penguin uniform.
Couple of big saves, one by Fleury, one by Niemi. Just coming off a great goaltender duel in L.A.
Now Winnick down the wing, drops it back to Pouliot. He's got a shot in every game he's played except for one. He's really made his presence felt here, and he's done a great job in the defensive zone. Derek Pouliot paired up with Ben Lovejoy, who's been impressed with his play. Lovejoy was dumped in the neutral zone right before going to the bench, and now here come the Sharks, but they're offside as they enter the Penguin zone, and it's a good thing. Smith had a little bit of room there to make a play.
Yeah, he didn't make it. It was a breakaway, but this is a big save. The left pad of Fleury coming out, putting the puck in the corner. Not in front of the net. And then Winnick. Look how far Niemi is out. Wow, he was a good 5 feet on top of that crease.
If you saw that, Bob, early in the game, how he played that, what would your strategy be the next time you had an opportunity like that?
Well, you know, a lot of times you look around and maybe post up, look for a late player, or you're looking for that east to west play. But Winnick had more of a lane. I don't think he was going to stop or try to make a pass there. But Penguins can, you know, put that in their back of their brain and say, yeah, he's going to come and challenge. Let's move the puck left or right. Be a little patient with him.
Malkin slips it into the zone. Back to get it goes Patrick Marleau. 35 years old. 17 seasons in the league. Number 12 for the Sharks. Justin Braun defending now against Como. Back out to the point in the shot. And that one off of the stick of Ian Cole whistled wide. Boy, Cole does get rid of shots quickly from the point. He's got a quick stick. Here's Como with it now. Como spinning away from Braun. Penguins with a little sustained pressure here on this shift. Como, Kunitz, and Malkin. Malkin's shot from one knee deflected away to the corner. Kunitz pounces on it. Tried to move it to the point, and it ends up going past everybody into the Penguin zone, and back to get it goes Rob Scuderi.
How about that work by Como? He's getting a little dizzy. He was going back and forth, patient with that puck.
Icing on the Penguins as Paul Martin's pass did not connect, so back to the Penguin zone it goes.
Take a look at Como. Let's see. He's going to pick it up in the corner. He's going to go out to the point. Then he's going to go back and then back out this way. And Justin Braun staying with him. Staying in between Como and the net. Boy, that's a lot of work there. Puck protection for Como. Now, if you get your buddy to come over there and run a little bit of interference on Braun, just a little bit, little crisscross maybe, and then you can get Como going to the cage with it.
Joe Thornton, he can hang on to the puck. He turns his back to you, and you can't get around him. He's got a big, wide body. Well, the puck is turned over, though, by Mueller and carried ahead by Crosby. Back for Hornquist. He just couldn't get a stick on it. He was defended well coming back. And the Sharks quickly counter now. But Carlson couldn't take the lead pass, and Paul Martin lifts it back into the Sharks zone. Brent Burns will take it. Moves it up the wing. And again, it was mishandled. Mueller had trouble with it, and the Penguins take advantage of that as Sutter dumps it right back into the Sharks zone. Hannon went back to play it. Now Barclay Goodrow blew a tire. He goes down. And he was tripped. That's why it'll be a penalty against the Penguins.
I believe it was Downey's stick. Again, I'm not exactly sure, but the Penguins was certainly not in a dangerous play. It was more of a hard-working trip down. He didn't want to have him step on the stick, but he did, and Penguins are going to have to kill a penalty.
Getting ready to go on the PK, if you will, and of course Marc-Andre Fleury visits Northern California for business and pleasure. For example, Flower and a few teammates made a trip to Napa Valley a couple summers ago where they stopped at the Fleury Winery and tasted Le Fleur 29 Cabernet. So does Marc-Andre have his own wine? Well, we went to Napa Valley this morning for the answer. We'll bring it to you a little bit later in the show, guys.
Love it. Good stuff there. I hope you brought home some wine, Danny.
He did. He brought home some wine and also some things to carry the wine in, so you can take it back and have it just stored nicely on the road on the way back.
Nice.
Pavelski dumps the puck in. The Sharks are hot on the power play. 5 for 12 last 5 games. And they're ranked at 4th in the league on home ice with a man advantage. The Penguins have killed all 5 power play opportunities against them in the last 2 games. Pavelski mishandles the puck. Penguins take advantage of that as Sutter takes the pass from Spalling. He comes back. Thornton trying to track him down. Sutter with a backhander and a save made by Niemi. And that was a good shot by Sutter. Sneaky backhander. Now the Sharks go the other way. Marleau to the left side. Jumbo Joe turns away from Letang. But there's Sutter. Penguins 2-on-1 there on Thornton, able to take the puck away from him. Burns throws it up the middle to Thornton. Moves it right wing to Patrick Marleau. Scuderi trying to take it away. It comes free, where it's handled by Spalling, and he coolly sends the puck all the way down the ice. Spalling and Lapierre were the tandem there up front. Lapierre now in on the forecheck, trying to kill some time here and make it difficult for the Sharks to get untracked on their power play. Joined by Daniel Winnick. Penguins have them bottled up right now. Excellent work by Winnick and Lapierre, but now with some room down the right side, it's Carlson. Melker Carlson wearing number 68 to the corner. Martin there along with Lovejoy, but the puck comes to the point. Vlasic to Braun. Justin Braun's shot is blocked in front. He gets it back, and Wingels wants it, but it's going to be sent up the wall but not cleared. Lovejoy tried to get it out. He gets a stick on puck there, but it comes to Braun. The centering pass read beautifully by Paul Martin. As coming in the back door was Vlasic. Martin got the blade of his stick on it to direct it away from the slot.
Stick in the lane. Great work by the Penguins. A lot of pressure on this penalty kill. Really taking away all the time of the Sharks.
There's a shot by Couture. That one just floated wide with the outstretched glove of Fleury. Nieto sent it back around, but stepping out of the box is Downey. He's got the puck and he moves it along now to Sutter. Penguins back at full strength as Sutter shoots it again. This time blocker save made by Niemi. And out now to Scuderi. The slap shot, and Niemi stops that. So he's sharp here early as the Penguins are firing pucks at him. That's at least 8 shots for the Penguins so far and only 3 for the Sharks.
Well, they're really aggressive here on this penalty kill. You see on the wall, a lot of teamwork. Get the puck easily down the ice. It was Letang on the other side, up the ice. There you see the pressure by Lapierre, disturbing the breakout, if you will, of that power play. So Gary Agnew and his penalty killing unit getting the job done there on the Downey trip.
Letang with a shot. That's blocked. And the Penguins have to race to get back. Pouliot able to beat Joe Pavelski back to the puck. And now Carlson to the corner for Pouliot. For Thornton, cuts in front of the net, trying to control it. Moves it back out to the point instead, and the shot by Brendan Dillon is blocked. Thornton gets it again, sends it down the wall, but Pouliot alertly got a blade on it, and now turns it ahead to Como, who dumps it towards the Shark zone. Knocked out of midair by Dillon, but it wasn't a high stick on the puck. Pavelski on the wing, and he could not play it cleanly. Como came over. Now it's thrown back to the net by Thornton. It comes all the way through for Dillon. He dumps it back in behind for Joe Thornton. He's dangerous behind the net. Really good back there. He centers, but it wasn't a really perfect pass. But anyway, Kunitz had Goudreau covered, so now the Sharks regroup.
Yeah, you say he's dangerous behind the net. Thornton made a living back there, hasn't he, Staggy? Sets up a lot of plays from behind the goal line.
Wingels behind the cage now, tries to move it in front. Penguins have done a great job of protecting the house this season. There's a deflected shot. It bounced in on Fleury. He saw it at the last second. He was in good position to save the shot. Now another one, and Fleury got knocked over as Burns let it go from the right point.
And then the whistle
Hurdle
goes.
was right on the doorstep. The whistle blows.
Yeah, there was a real battle there between Letang and Hurdle. Hurdle was on top of the crease. Now Letang was in between Fleury and Hurdle. A lot of times you'll want your defenseman to front that guy. A lot of traffic in front of Fleury. He had to deal with it. Marc-Andre Fleury grabbing a little water there. Face off to his right. Matt Murray, 9 shutouts. Congratulations, Matt. 304 minutes of shutout streak that ended at just over a minute left in his last game. He had 4 straight shutouts. Look at his numbers. Incredible stuff. 9 shutouts to match Marc-Andre Fleury's 9 shutouts.
Another chance for the Penguins as they create another turnover. Hornquist turning. Lost the puck for a moment, but now it's taken by Perron. He tried to get it back to Hornquist. Logan Couture got in the way of that. Sharks turn it over again. Sidney Crosby in the slot, shoots it. Big save by Niemi on Sidney Crosby. Boy, Niemi has been tough here early. Trying to get his first win on home ice since January 31st. He's off to a good start. This Sharks team outshot the Penguins last year, 47-22 in the game here. And this is a completely different scenario right now. The Penguins have outshot the Sharks 9-4 to start the game.
Yeah, and Staggy there once again. He's out high on his crease. That's a sign of confidence, and that's pretty important for a guy that hasn't won in a long time here in this building. A lot of times you think a goaltender would retreat in his crease.
Ian Cole sent it up the wall. That bouncing puck wasn't cooperating. He has another crack at it here. Cole, left shot in the right side. And he's able to win the battle with some help. And now to center ice comes Winnick. He's trying to gain the red line. He slipped it inside the Sharks zone, and they clear it right back into Penguin ice. And that gives them an opportunity to change lines. And now Scuderi moves it ahead to Winnick, who drops it right back to Malkin. Malkin into the Sharks zone. Looks back. Dancing with the puck around Joe Thornton. Malkin trying to move it to the right side, and the Sharks got in the way as Pavelski broke it up. Looks ahead for Carlson. He's got quick feet in against Letang. Malcolm Carlson with 11 goals this season. Now Letang knocks it down. He looks like he's really light on his skates. And Letang giving him a beating there with some cross checks. He yells at the referee looking for a penalty. Nothing called. Here's Malkin with it, shooting. He just missed the net of the glove side of Niemi. Carlson with it again. Letang goes back for the puck. And Karlsson might have had a point there. There were a couple of cross checks from Letang while he was down, and nothing called.
Set the tone. Letang's been doing it. You talked about a shutdown pair. It is Letang and Martin. You look at Letang and you think, hey, 50 points. This guy's great offensively. I'm telling you, folks, he's as good defensively as he is offensively. And for that reason, could win the Norris this year.
It's voted on by the media. Let's hope they're paying attention to the year that Chris Letang is having. Down the wing comes Hornquist. Hornquist hung up on the wall by Vlasic.
See, they let a penalty go. They let one at one end on Letang. There could have easily been one on Vlasic hanging off Hornquist.
Now it's Pouliot trying to keep it alive. And the referees tonight are Dan O'Rourke and Gord Dwyer. And Barclay Goodrow can't make the move around Ben Lovejoy. And Lovejoy slips it past Couture to Pouliot. He's got some room, and he'll take it in the neutral zone and dump it into the Sharks' end. Steve Downing in on the forecheck against Brendan Dillon. Back behind it, and it goes to Mueller. He works it up the wall, and the Sharks cleanly come out of their own zone, but then a lead pass for Couture did not connect, and the Penguins quickly send it the other way. Sutter in after it. But it's Mirko Mueller reversing it back to the corner. Smalling overskated, and Matt Nieto, who played on a line in Pee Wee with Bo Bennett. And Southern California is on the ice, number 83. Fleury steps out of the net to move it along the wall. Taken now by Spalling. Across to Ian Cole.
Tough sledding out there right now. Good hitting. Both ends of the rink.
Crowd's starting to get into it a little bit. Here's Scuderi. They weren't very boisterous when it started. But we're starting to hear him now. Here's Brent Burns swinging it up the wall for Big John Scott. 6'8" forward. And it's dumped in by Chris Tierney, the fourth line of the Sharks on the ice. Ben Smith, number 21, just acquired by the Blackhawks, from the Blackhawks at the trade deadline. But the Penguins bounce back with their fourth line, and it's Lapierre cross ice. Quick shot taken by Paul Martin, deflected away and up into the netting.
Getting rough. Letang in the corner. His stick got held a little bit. He wasn't too happy with it. He made everybody know. There's Marc-Edouard Vlasic. Been on the ice for 4 of Crosby's 5 shifts. He'll get that assignment as he did in junior hockey. And Sidney Crosby with a good opportunity off the steal, the slap shot. There's the big pad save by Niemi, and Vlasic had a little something to say about Crosby.
Said he's the best player in the world. He works hard. The reason he's the best is his work ethic is the best. And he did play with him for the Quebec Ramparts. He played against him when Sid played at Rimouski in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. And of course they were teammates for Team Canada in the Olympics.
Talks about what a leader Crosby is and how he was even at the Olympic level, Staggy. People just see the way he worked.
And the puck pinballing around with Malkin in there causing some havoc. And the puck held in now by Letang for Malkin. Gino brings it up the wall, looks at the net, takes the shot, finds Kunitz. Kunitz under some pressure here, and he's got a man all over him, Karlsson. And it comes to Joe Thornton. Thornton tried to move it into the middle. Well, Thornton having a little bit more trouble making plays, at least so far in this game, than he's had in the past against the Penguins. Here's Karlsson against Letang, trying to drive to the net, and he lost the puck. Letang stayed with him best he could. Now Como over to Kunitz for Malkin. He comes late all the time. He picks up speed, drops it off. Kunitz with a shot was blocked. Now the rink-wide pass for Malkin. Back to Lovejoy. Tees it up and fires, and it's blocked in front. Loose in front, too. Malkin poking away at it. And now he's decked by Brendan Dillon. And the whistle finally blows with Niemi getting control of the puck.
Well, you got to knock the people on their wallets if you're the Sharks. They bumped Niemi as that shot from Lovejoy comes through. You could see Como was right there in front of the net. Take a look. Good play by Malkin. Niemi's going to get bumped a little bit by Braun and the traffic in front, but he stays with it and covers that rebound. Lovejoy looking for his first and his second tour of duty with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Puck was on edge when he let it go. Now he has to go back to center ice to play the puck, and Lovejoy moves it along for Sidney Crosby. Try to go back to Ben, and now Lovejoy has to go behind the net to play it. Pressured all the way by Logan Couture, but able to move the puck anyway to center ice, and now into the Shark zone. Hornquist following on, digging along the wall, is hit by Marleau. In the corner, Justin Braun having problems with Patrick Hornquist. And they clear it, but again, the bouncing puck causes problems for Ben Lovejoy. He's got a retreat for Pouliot. Lead pass up into the Shark zone. And after it is David Perron, hit by Justin Braun. Hurdle sends it around the wall, and his backhand Pouliot works it right back into the corner. Pouliot and Scuderi, the pairing at the moment for the Penguins, as Hornqvist and Crosby continue to work down low. Crosby centers for Hornqvist, going to the net. Sharks' Justin Braun broke that up. Now Crosby is decked behind the play and has something to say.
Hurdle and Crosby, I think it is, Staggy. They've really been going at it in this shift.
Now Scott Hannon moves it behind the net to Brent Burns, who rifles it high off the glass. Scuderi knocked the man down at center ice. That's going to be interference on Rod Scuderi, as he took a piece of Tommy Wingels while the puck was coming to center.
Yeah, he's going to say, hey, Wingels got in my way. It prevented me from being able to play the puck. So Letang got away with the cross check. And this time, no, he did not get away with the cross check. See, he got up a little high, Scuderi's cross check. If it was lower in the back, you get away with it. Gets up into the neck, you're not going to get away with it. Scuderi in the box. He gets more penalty killing time on this Penguin team than anybody. Maybe Winnick will get some time.
That's the man that Dan Potash will speak with during the intermission, Daniel Winnick. Brought to you by your neighborhood Ford store with Rob and Jay coming up. 3 minutes even remaining in this first period. The Penguins have outshot the Sharks 13-4, but this is their second power play opportunity. And a shot steered away from the front of the net by Paul Martin, and then Cooley sent down the ice by Spalling. You've got to be impressed with the cool demeanor of Nick Spalling on the penalty kill. When he gets that puck, he's very calm with it. He has quiet hands on the penalty killing efforts. Number 13 of the Penguins paired up with Brandon Sutter. Paul Martin and Chris Letang are back right now as the Sharks enter the zone with a man advantage. Pavelski, who has 17 power play goals, number 8 for the Sharks, is on the ice. Over to Logan Couture. Marleau goes to the back of the net to get the puck. Fleury got there, played it. Letang trying to clear it. Loose puck. Sutter trying to get a hold of it. Spalling working to get there. Now Sutter shoots it and hits a Shark with it. It was Couture who then whips the puck up into the right wing corner of the Penguin zone.
Penguins are changing. The puck's not all the way down. They're going to stay on the ice.
And a centering pass. Pavelski went to the net. And the puck ends up behind the goal. Fleury may have gotten a piece of that with Pavelski cutting right towards the front of the goal.
Boy. Pavelski is very dangerous with 17 power play goals on the season. And he is the man who had that chance after the Penguins didn't get it all the way down. You see OV's got 20 of them. And John Tavares leads the National Hockey League in scoring with 12 power play goals.
Yep, Tavares has 70 points. Ovechkin behind him with 69. Malkin is 4th with 67 in 60 games. Sid is 5th with 66 points in 61 games. Those two have the highest points per games average. Points per game average, Malkin and Crosby. And there's a battle for the puck now. 55 seconds to go on the penalty. Vlasic shoots it off the stick of Wingels, and it dribbles in behind the goal. Carlson trying to get a hold of it. Out to the point it goes to Braun. Marc-Edouard Vlasic controls to the far side. Back to the right wing. Braun trying to sharp pass. He got it back after Pouliot blocked it. Pouliot battling to take it away from Braun. He's in deep on the play. 31 seconds to go on the penalty. Up the wall it comes, and Vlasic tries to kick it back down to the corner. Taken there by Hurdle. He cut in front, and he was checked there by Winnick, and then Wingels came to the net and didn't get a really good clean shot away. Fleury was right there to meet him as the puck came there, and the Penguins able to send it all the way down to 12 seconds remaining on the penalty.
That was great work right there, and Pouliot, the youngster, getting a chance with Scuderi in the box to kill a penalty for Pittsburgh as they keep that pairing of Pouliot and Lovejoy on the ice to get the kill.
Penguins are 2 for 2 on the penalty kill, but now they score. Right on the doorstep, Matt Nieto was there to just poke it home right after the Penguins had killed the penalty. The Sharks get the first goal.
Well, it was really a great play by Tierney, the youngster from the Ontario Hockey League, is able to make that pass. They work behind the net. And there's the battle in front. Letang gets stripped by the good hard forecheck, and Terry to Nieto. Just a quick play. Fleury can't shut it down with his stick, but it was the forecheck of Ben Smith that turned the puck over with the speed on Letang as Letang is getting ready to carry it or shoot it down the ice.
Boy, the Penguins have done a great job of killing 2 penalties, and they were holding the Sharks to very few shots, but then they end up with a goal. Now Letang with a wrister, and Niemi makes the save. Well, give Niemi a lot of the credit for the success the Sharks have had in this period. He stopped some great scoring chances for the Penguins. Here's Paul Martin with a shot. Another save by Niemi. And then the Sharks able to get the first goal in the final minute. Those are always big. So all's well that ends well for the San Jose Sharks. 19 seconds to go in the period. The Penguins might get one more crack here to tie this game. Brent Burns goes back for it. In on the forecheck is Perron, but it's going to be an icing call, and they'll bring it back into the Penguin zone with 12.8 to go.
Staggy, you wonder if Letang knew that he couldn't ice the puck because the penalty had expired. Did he hang on to the puck a little longer than he wanted to? And that allowed the forecheck of Smith. Take a look. It's going to go to Letang. He's got a chance. No, it was just a good forecheck there by 21. And then over to Tierney. Just didn't have a chance to really get that puck on his stick and get it down. Good foot speed by that Shark unit.
Carlson fanned on the attempt to get it down low. Now Thornton working there, and time expires here in the first period. The shots are 15-8 in favor of the Penguins in that first. Niemi with a really big period against Pittsburgh. And then the late goal by Nieto from Tierney and Smith at 19:04, making it 1-0.
Yeah, I agree. And the question mark coming in was Niemi and how would he hold up, and he had a strong first period.
And let's go to Robin Jay in Pittsburgh.
About sums it up, Niemi and Nieto. Niemi with a great goaltending, and then Nieto with that late goal. We talk about it so often, how important that can be for a team getting some momentum heading into the locker room.
Yeah, especially after a big kill. They made a change, and they just jumped on the deep pairing, worked hard, really. Smith made the first initial play, but then a great feed. But outside of that, Niemi was really good because Pittsburgh had some great opportunities. He challenged right away on Winnick, but was really good. Even right to the last minute, Pittsburgh had a couple opportunities, so they're going to break through. It was just tough to give up that late one, but you got to hand it to their goaltender in the first period.
The Penguins trying to wrap up this four-game Western swing in style. The Sharks in desperate need of a victory outside of the Western Conference playoff picture as it currently stands. Coming up in the first intermission report, brought to you by your neighborhood Ford store. Dan Potash with the player interview. Jay will tell us straight highlights from around the league. San Jose is where the Sharks lead the Penguins 1-0 at the end of one period of play. Let's send you back to the SAP Center in San Jose to rejoin Steige and Bob. Guys.
Ooh, that fog's moving quickly there, Bob. Sidney Crosby, as we anticipated, is matched up against Marc-Edouard Vlasic, and we have some good video of those two battling, Bob. But your thoughts as we look at this on what happened in the first.
The Penguins came out with a lot of effort. Seemed like they wouldn't want to be denied. Niemi was really good. Challenged in that first period of play. But Vlasic was out there for most of the Crosby shifts. And when it wasn't him, it was Hurdle. Those two got into a little bit of a battle. You have to pay Sidney Crosby a little bit of attention. If you don't, he's going to hurt you. And their coach was asked about Crosby this morning, and he said, yeah, but if we shut him down, we still got to worry about 71. And Evgeny Malkin stuck on 699 career points. And Todd McClellan, knows that he's got his hands full with those two.
And tonight's face-offs are presented by the new face of Northwood Realty Services. And Evgeny Malkin had a pretty good period in the face-off circle, Bob.
Well, he was. He was 6-1 in the face-off circle. He hasn't been that great over the last handful of hockey games. The Penguins won 12, lost 6 in that category, and they had a solid period. It was one good forecheck after a penalty kill that got them into some trouble, and no chance for Marc-Andre Fleury to make that save. So the Islanders get their win tonight. Tavares scores in overtime. They came back on the Leafs, who had them 3-1 in that third period of play. So the Penguins fighting that battle uphill in that Metropolitan Division.
They now have 90 points, the Islanders. The Penguins with 85. And from the face-off, starting the second period between Pavelski and Crosby, the Sharks dump it down the ice, but it's going to be an icing infraction against them. So face-off coming up to the left of Antti Niemi, a 31-year-old goaltender of the Sharks.
I don't know if that should have been an icing. He was going hard around the wall, and it looked like Joe Thornton might have got that to that puck, but it was a quick whistle from the official.
And Sidney Crosby will take the draw against Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton was drafted in Pittsburgh in the same year the last time the Penguins won here in San Jose. 97. First overall. There's a shot down low and from long range by Carlson. To the corner now goes David Perron, and he'll work it up to the blue line, but not out. Held in by Pavelski to Thornton, and Fleury equal to the task there as Joe Thornton was all alone in front of him. And a right wing pass now to Chris Letang moving up. To Sidney Crosby to the backhand. His shot not on the net. That was wide, but gloved by Niemi for another faceoff.
Well, that was a big save, to say the least, by Marc-Andre Fleury. A late goal at the end of the first by the Sharks, and an early goal at the start of the second would have been a lot of trouble. But Marc-Andre Fleury stopping Joe Thornton there on that quick shot.
Thornton with 44 assists on the year. He always gets a ton of assists. 13 goals, looking for his 14th on that chance. Shot by Lovejoy from a sharp angle. Niemi the save. Lovejoy got his own rebound. The defenseman in deep finds Pouliot now out for Kunitz. A one-timer intentionally wide. And now controlled by Brendan Dillon, who reverses it back behind for Mueller. And Mirko Mueller works it up to Marleau. Back for Dillon, the long drive, and Fleury makes the save. Both teams have had quite a few long shots on the net that have been steered away by the goaltender. Nils Nieto quick on his feet as he turns, darting down there with the puck. Now trying to go to Couture, and Logan Couture fanned on the attempt to shoot it, and now it's carried back by Kunitz. And then on the forecheck goes Blake Comeau up to the wall, and Malkin. Evgeny Malkin for Comeau. Back to Gino. Trying to get himself free for a shot. Ian Cole has it down for the Penguins. Dumps it in behind for Comeau on his backhand to the forehand. Comeau again controlling the puck like he did in the first period. Throws it across the rink for Spalling. The slap shot is blocked in front and cleared. And handled now by Scuderi.
Spalling at the point with that shot. A lot of good rotation for the Penguins as they rotate bodies in that offensive zone.
Niemi again plays it in the trapezoid up off the glass. Barclay Goudreau moves it ahead. Hurdle down the wing, drops it off. Goudreau wrists it wide of the goal. And taken nicely by Sutter. He and Downey come ahead together. Sutter down the wing, shoots it, save made, rebound. Well, everybody went by it as it came right in front of the net. Now the Penguins have to hustle to get back here. Spalling really trying to get back on the play. And the pass for Goudreau is beyond his reach. Now a chance for Hurdle with the goal. And Fleury somehow made a glove save on Thomas Hurdle, who looks up to the heavens. He can't believe it.
Well, the Penguins, they had no defenseman in front of the net. Lovejoy went behind the net. They lost the battle. It came right in front to Hurdle. He goes to the backhand. He put it right into the mid of Marc-Andre Fleury. Spectacular. Another good forecheck. Goudreau, a couple of whacks and hacks, and Hurdle looks to the heavens. He cannot believe it, as Marc-Andre Fleury made it look so easy, Staggy, like he's been doing it, and he has been.
This is Ben Smith shooting, trying to get it through, and it was blocked by LaPierre. Now Tierney in front, Scott a shot, and Fleury fought to stop him. Big John Scott was looking for a goal, his third of the year. Scott again shoots it. That's off a leg and cleared by the Penguins back to center. So now the Sharks coming on. And the Penguins find themselves under siege a bit in their own zone. Scott again shooting off the stick of Letang up into the netting.
Well, there was talk in the preseason of maybe an exchange of goaltenders. Fleury to the Sharks for Niemi. Well, I got to tell you, the Penguins are pretty glad they didn't make that deal. And for Marc-Andre Fleury, he was able to get across, push off with his skate off that goal post, keep the upper body up. Scott made a nice shot there. He tried to go upstairs on Marc-Andre Fleury, but Fleury is just unconscious right now.
From the draw, Perron hustled over to get to it. Now it'll come through for Vlasic. Marc-Edouard Vlasic sent it up the wing to Joe Thornton. He lifts it over the glove of Letang, and Pavelski gets to the puck. Joe Pavelski, Letang staying on him as he moves it to the right point. Braun, Vlasic, the shot, and it was redirected high in the slot by Anderson, or Carlson rather, off the blade of his stick and off the glass. Now here's a quick shot from Braun, and a save made by Fleury. So Justin Braun jumped into the attack in a battle after the whistle, and there's Carlson right there on the doorstep again.
Well, what the Sharks are trying to get to the front of the net, and the Penguins are trying to keep them from the blue paint. And that's what's going on right now. And you see, if Marc-Andre Fleury can see the puck, it's pretty obvious he's going to stop it most times. So a good battle there with Carlson, number 68, with Letang, number 58. And the Penguins are not going to give any ground to this Shark hockey team. And it's a 2-minute penalty to Thornton. He's going to be the lone player going in the box for a rough. Thornton came in there and he took off Perron's helmet as Perron tried to get in there, and that's it. That was the penalty. Only one penalty. They'll let you get away with the first stuff. The referee calling only one. And that should curtail some of this extracurricular activity when the referee just takes one player.
And the Penguins can really make them pay here. That's something they have not been able to do on this road trip on the power play. They're 0 for the road trip so far, 0 for 9. Boy, what a time to make them pay for a bad penalty. Letang moves up to the corner, but he's not going to be able to stay with the puck, and it's going to be Logan Couture coming back for the Sharks, shorthanded. Malkin stood up on him, and now Kunitz controls the puck. Well, the Sharks had a couple of power play opportunities in the first. This is the first one for the Penguins. The UPMC Sports Medicine power play as Kunitz comes to center ice and looks back now for Sidney Crosby. Crosby snaps it to the left wing to Kunitz. Back across for Crosby. It comes through for Hornquist. He sends it back around to the point where Malkin will take it for Pittsburgh. Now to Letang. High slot Kunitz to Crosby. Shot was wide of the net. It comes off the inboards to Malkin. Back across to Sid. To Letang. To Crosby. The shot kicked out by Niemi. The rebound cleared by Wingels. Boy, Niemi's been really using those pads. Kicking pucks away from the front of the net.
Yeah, he's got the big flippers going, but you know what I like? The first shot mentality. Crosby missed one, got another one on there. Hornquist, you know he's in front. He's got a chance at it.
Here's a chance now for Crosby, turning to the forehand. Back across now. He tried to get a Como. Good read there by Brent Burns. He comes back for the Sharks and fires it long on Fleury. And then goes to the bench. You know, he stays out here, actually. He will. Now he's waving to the bench. He wants to get off. Unable to do so. The Penguins come ahead. It's Como. Downey. Second power play unit on for the Penguins. Downey to the right point. It's David Perron there for the Penguins. Into the middle for Malkin. Back to Perron, closing in. Gino fakes the shot. Well, the Penguins just moving it around. There's a shot by Gino, and it's wide of the goal off the end boards. Pouliot set it up for Malkin. Now Malkin can't find the puck as it went by him. Down to 14 seconds on the Thornton penalty.
Burns did a great job out there. Forward turn D this year, the big monster I was going to call him. He is a big man, a mountain man back there on the blue line staying. He never killed any penalties last year for the Sharks.
Perron with it, trying to drag it to the net. Can't do it as Thornton comes out of the box. Fortunately, Paul Martin, as usual, thinking ahead, was there, but the Penguins don't get anybody back to help out this time. Thornton closing in, and man, it just came off the bench. Sutter got there to poke it away. It was a little slow to develop for the Sharks there. They had what looked like a 3-on-1 for a moment.
You know what, Segi? He was slow because Joe wanted it to be slow. And he thought Sutter was going to take the man, go to the net. And Sutter bluffed him. He went to that guy with a stick. Then he put the stick in the passing lane. He outfought, mastered Joe Thornton. I'm telling you, it was a cerebral battle right there. Thornton was ready for it to kind of materialize. It didn't happen for him.
That's good stuff. Here's the Scuderi with it at the left point. He risks it towards the net, bouncing just wide of the goal. And around to the near side where Cole will work it down low. Now Bo Bennett steps in. You got to feel that Bo Bennett's got something more to give here for the Penguins. He started to show flashes of his skilled self in Los Angeles the other night. He's working hard right here along with Nick Spaulding. Spaulding is knocked down behind the net by Braun. Spaulding gets back up, gets back into the fray here, and then the puck goes off the skate at Braun, who was slow to get up, and it trickled right back in front of the goal.
Well, that would have been a nice bounce, but I'll show you a nice play. Sutter off the bench. He came hard into the play, put his head down, stick this way, stick the other way. Sorry, Joe.
Earlier, we told you about Marc-Andre Fleury and the winery in nearby Napa that carries the same name. Now, the owner is Brian Fleury. No connection to Flower, though. Lafleur 29, which is the name of the Cabernet that he's producing, is named after his father, Lee, who also loved wine and always claimed that he was never any older than 29. So Lafleur 29. Still, Flower loves the wine, and how could he not? It's got his name on it.
And now it has your name on it, because I know that you are probably going to partake of some of that at some point, Dan, when you get back to Pittsburgh. Have a nice dinner with the wife. Puck is lifted back into the Penguin zone, and Fleury stops it there for Lovejoy, who sends it up the right wing wall. Now Logan Couture trying to get a hold of it. The Penguins is able to bring it back to center ice, and it's David Perron. He'll feed it up into the right wing corner. Back to get it goes Sidney Crosby along with it, Marc-Edouard Vlasic. Sid and Perron working here. Vlasic and Braun defensively, and they win the battle. Braun stepping away now. Moves it ahead to Logan Couture. Shoots it long on Fleury. And swooping back in to get it is Derek Pouliot for the Penguins. Lots of ice to work with here for Pouliot. He comes ahead. He can stick handle. He leaves it now for Hornqvist. Back in behind the net for Derek Pouliot. He's in deep on the play. Covering for him right now is Daniel Winnick at the point. And now Pouliot goes to the bench, as does Hornqvist. The Penguins send Scuderi onto the ice. Handling it on the near side is Cole as he dumps it to the corner. Steve Downey out here along with Lapierre and Winnick. And the Sharks poke it back out to center. Chris Tierney. He skates well. Tierney down the wing against Scuderi. Looks back. Now leaves it down low for Ian Cole. And Cole is able to slip it through for Steve Downey. Pass to Lapierre. And Lapierre gains the zone. Trailing on the play with Winnick to take it. He'll work it in deep. Downey there as well. Back for Winnick. Skating well for the Penguins. Daniel Winnick out to Scuderi's shot. That goes off the leg of Sean Scott. How could it not? He's so big out there. Here's Scuderi to the left side now, and Lapierre has been out here a long time. He angles one to the corner. And now Cole works it in deep for Downey. Back for Winnick. This has been a long shift for this line for the Penguins. Scuderi. Back to Downey in the slot. Downey trying to pull the trigger. He can't get himself free. Back to Cole and across to Scuderi. Lapierre's in front of the net causing havoc. Downey holds the puck. Back to Scuderi. Got to be careful here. Those forwards are tired. The Penguins will jump people on as they go off. And I guess the Shark forward was tired too. Tierney, he had to leave it for Pavelski and go to the bench. Now Carlson is hit hard by Kunitz on the far wall. Thornton to Pavelski. The shot fought off by Fleury. Cole to the rebound. Able to slip it to the corner. It's around Joe Thornton. Up the wall now for Kunitz, who just flicks it back to center. And Brendan Dillon goes over to get it. Ahead to Braun. He tried to headman the puck. It came bouncing to Kunitz. Trying to get a hold of it. Now Joe Thornton barging in, and he's going to be offside here on the play.
Well, what a job by the fourth line offensively. Look at that. March 9th of 93, Steggy.
Yeah, great day for hockey, brought to you by Day Automotive. Tom Barrasso started a team record 14-game win streak for himself. That's part of that 17 straight streak that the Penguins put together at the end of that season. Fleury with 9 shutouts on his own.
Well, the way he's playing it, the way he's doing it again in this hockey game. Game in, game out for Marc-Andre Fleury. Here we go, 2-on-1.
Vlasic is back. Malkin to the goal. Stop. Rebound. Kunitz grabbed by Niemi. Somehow, not quite sure how he stopped that one. But Kunitz was there with a golden opportunity on the rebound. And the puck is sent ahead now. Look out, it's Hertl shooting, and the save, and it trickled through. And unfortunately did not go in. It went behind Fleury and wide of the post.
Well, you talk about thievery.
Now here's Como shooting. Boy, Niemi's in a zone right now for the Sharks. Kunitz with another shot, and that one went wide. Letang takes it off the corner boards. Distributes it back behind the net. And it'll be Hannon poking it up the wall. Now for Vlasic. Carries to center. Fleury can't stop it as it went around behind the net. Letang trying to peel it off the wall. Couture with a shot, and he floated that one wide of the goal. Back out to the point, Hannon. And he lifts it up into the netting off the stick of Brandon Sutter.
Well, Hertl can't score at the one end. Twice stopped by Fleury, and then Niemi. Malkin one, and watch his toe here on Kunitz. He is in his zone. 10 shots for the Sharks in the second period alone halfway through, and Marc-Andre Fleury has made a couple of exceptional saves. One there on Thornton, on Hertl. Couldn't believe that. Wow. Well, if you couldn't believe that one, can you believe that one on Scott? Hertl with that one last opportunity. So when you're talking about grade A chances and grade A saves, and the Penguins keep track of them, Marc-Andre Fleury just made 4 of them in the second period alone.
And Niemi made the one big one at the other end against Chris Kunitz, who had a great chance on a second opportunity. He didn't elevate the puck. I think he thought he had an empty net. Niemi took it away with his toe. And now the Sharks lift it to the goal, and Fleury gloves it down. Fleury is in a zone right now. No doubt about that. Just when you think he can't play any better, he does even more wondrous things. The Penguins dump it in. Back to get it goes Brent Burns. He's hit hard by Spalling. Now Sutter in on the forecheck. Bumping Tierney. Back in behind the net, it goes to Brent Burns. Burns fires it off the window. And the Penguins want to take it right back into the Sharks zone, and here they go. Penguins down 1-0 in this game. Here's Sutter shooting, saved by Niemi, and Bennett went to the net looking for a rebound, but he controlled the puck. Christian Ehrhoff is still not ready to go for the Penguins. And our UPMC Sports Medicine injury update. And of course, he's a former Shark, and you know he would have loved to play here in the Shark Tank tonight, but it just didn't happen. He's still bothered a little bit with symptoms from the concussion problems.
Greiss as well, a former Shark, not getting the nod here in this one.
From the draw, faceoff was won by Crosby. And a shot blocked, now taken by Hornquist. Back around for David Perron. You can see Perron get going here for the Penguins. He got off to such a great start. Now here's Crosby with it again. Sidney Crosby controls. For Letang. Back across to the corner. Crosby after it again. Trying to do it all himself right now. Changes direction. Steps out. Finds Hornquist, but he just fanned on the opportunity. And Braun takes off now for the Sharks and dumps it hard into the Penguin zone. Fleury got out quickly to play it. Crosby all the way back in his own zone. Finds Chris Letang. And up the wall now for Perron. The puck just shot too hard by Letang, and as a result, it's going to be icing. And Tanger a little frustrated there by what he did, and there'll be a face-off. On the latest edition of the Penguins in the Room here, Bo Bennett mic'd up in the Penguins game against the Hawks. Follow Marc-Andre Fleury to the NHL All-Star Game and much more. In the Room, Thursday at 6 on Root Sports. Face-off won by Pavelski. Mueller across. Shot by Dillon. Oh, and a save made by Fleury. Pavelski there looking for the rebound. The Penguins got it out of there. Letang over to play it again. They might be a little tired here. Remember, they iced the puck. Crosby was on the ice for a while. Now it's Dillon with it at the right point on his backhand. And we get a penalty here. It's going to be Slash.
It's going to be against Crosby. He was really frustrated. He didn't get the face-off out. And then he got cross-checked. It's actually going to be Pavelski going to the box here, Stanky. Take a look at the cross-check in front. Right there, Crosby went down as the puck came in. He was arguing to the referee. He couldn't believe there wasn't a penalty for cross-check. And as the puck came back around, the referee agreed with Crosby. There's the slash. So he didn't get the first one. He got the second one. Did the ref, and the Penguins go on the power play. I thought both Crosby and Pavelski were going to go. So Penguins catch a break here.
Sid battling away. Unfortunately not taking the penalty, actually drawing one. He's done a lot of that this year. It's 21 penalties he's drawn to lead the team in that category. Here's Sutter moving it back to Letang. Penguins with a UPMC Sports Medicine power play looking to tie it. The first one was pretty good. They'll try to make it count this time. Here's Letang. Letang looks it over. Moves it along for Pouliot. Derek Pouliot. Letang. Perron with a blast, and it's blocked, and Letang will go back and get it. And Wingles goes to the bench. He's replaced. And Letang struggles with a puck, and here goes Logan Couture back. The Penguins have enough bodies back. Letang just knocked down Couture, and the Penguins storm back in. Hornquist back to Kunitz. Shooting, save, made, rebound. Hornquist there. The Emmys down, and they can't get another clean shot away on a second chance. Here's Sutter with it. Sutter back up top. Boy, another good opportunity there. And the puck was up for grabs around the net. The Penguins just couldn't find the handle. Minute 5 on the penalty. Letang's shot is blocked by Ben Smith. Penguins try to work to get it back, and they do. Letang with it to Hornquist. Down low. Kunitz holds it, centers it. It comes through, and turning is Pouliot shooting. Kunitz there, he missed the net. He fired it wide on the short side. Hornquist back to Letang. 45 seconds to go on the penalty. The Penguins have done everything but score on this power play. Here's Kunitz with it again. Kunitz down low. Sutter has it. Sutter behind the net. Pouliot's all the way up to the front of the net here. Here's Kunitz with it again to Pouliot in the circle. Back to Sutter. Letang's open. But Sutter moves it back up top to Kunitz. 25 seconds on the penalty. Letang backhands it off the wall, but he didn't get it all the way to the corner. It's going to be cleared by Smith. And the Penguins will send their top unit on again for one more opportunity here. 12 seconds remaining on the penalty. Kunitz struggling with it a bit and is stolen away. Fleury with a poke check on Nieto, who almost stole the puck and put it in the net. Now Crosby sends it behind, and the Penguins run out of power play time here. It's over. Onto the ice comes Pavelski.
Kunitz was exhausted, Staggy, and Nieto jumped him from behind the net. That's unfamiliar territory for a forward behind your own net like that. And Fleury again bails the Penguins out after Kunitz had a wide open cage at the other end.
Here goes Perron cutting in against Braun, who cut him off. Perron controls it, throws it in front. Oh, it's tipped wide by Crosby. He knew he was coming, and he reached out on the backhand side of his stick and almost steered that one in. And now the Sharks go the other way. This is Karlsson shooting, and the save made. Back up to Karlsson again. His shot blocked. Lovejoy tried to clear. Melker, Karlsson again. Crosby steps in. We got a battle back and behind the play between Perron and Vlasic that went on forever. It was still going with a play at the other end for a good 25 seconds.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, what a hockey game here. Fantastic chances at both ends. The goaltenders standing on their heads. Kunitz looking for the cage there. He can't find it. Well, the Penguins are trying to get to Niemi. Hornqvist, take a look where he goes. Right to the net. He's going to bump him a little bit. Niemi's been able to make every save. And, well, Chris Kunitz missed the net on another opportunity. There's Hornqvist again, taking the feet out of Niemi as he went by. And that led to that chance, Staggy. Niemi was unable to get back in position. This is Vlasic on top of Perron. Skates in the air. You got to be dangerous there. Perron reaching through. He was grabbing onto the stick of Vlasic. That went on, as you said, for like 25, 30 seconds. It's been an entertaining game, and these goaltenders have not disappointed.
No, now we have 4-on-4 hockey, so it could open up even more. And we've seen some great opportunities at both ends of the rink. You don't mind low-scoring games if there are chances, and we've seen a lot of those in this game on both ends. 22 shots for the Penguins, 19 for the Sharks. Malkin dancing, stick handling his way in. 4 Sharks are back. Malkin moves it across to Como, a shot. Niemi the save. And now behind the net, Malkin working hard to get it back from Dillon, trying to move it in front. Paul Martin stepped up, and now he's a little bit trapped here. And the Sharks come ahead, and the pass to the left wing for Marleau out of his reach. And it was going to be icing, it waved off, and now Marleau works the corner. Back up top it comes, down to Mueller. Down the wall, but he gave it right to Letang. Into the middle for Malkin and back to Como. Como fires it off the corner boards. The Penguins are changing. 3:54 to go in the second period. We're in 4-on-4 situation here. 48 seconds remaining on the penalties. And now it is Nieto. He's got good speed coming to the net, and Fleury made the save on him. Kunitz works it along now for Ben Lovejoy.
Good job there by Pouliot, keeping the man Weinstag instead of letting the man cut into the middle as he did Landeskog. Pouliot there took the one-on-one and forced the offensive player wide.
Matt Nieto, second-round pick. Pavelski shoots, and a save made by Marc-Andre Fleury, and he'll hold on to it. 17 seconds remaining on the 4-on-4. Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, look forward to Miller time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Well, Nieto, he's the only man that's rang the register tonight.
Yep.
Got one behind Fleury.
His 7th of the season. He was born in Long Beach, California. Played with Bo Bennett as a youngster. Here's Braun shooting, and that's blocked in front. Taken now by Scuderi, and he'll wheel it around for Ian Cole. He comes over, looks over his shoulder, felt the pressure coming, but got the puck up the wall. And now Lapierre able to poke it behind Dillon and get in after to the offensive zone. Helping him out is Winnick. Moves it across Scuderi. In deep now for Lapierre behind the net. Back to 5-on-5 hockey as Lapierre skates away from Brendan Dillon and dumps it back into the corner. I'm impressed with Winnick, the way he plays on these grinding lines. He knows how to cycle the puck. Lapierre and Spaulding and Winnick, the threesome for the Penguins right now. Centering pass for Winnick, but poked away by Braun to center ice. And then dumped in by Joe Pavelski. Back to get it goes Ian Cole. 1-0 San Jose. Late in the second period.
There's a trip. Inadvertent nonetheless. Didn't lead to a scoring chance. Cole was able to recover.
Lead pass off the stick. Tierney up into the Shark zone. In to get it goes Brent Burns. Both Bennett on him. And Bennett trying to make it happen. Back out to the point, Letang. Bennett trying to get to the net. But Hannon was in his way, and then the puck is frozen by Niemi at the side of the goal. Head to Florida for our first televised Pirates spring training game of the year as the Pirates play the Orioles. It's all coming to you from Bradenton Sunday starting at 12:30. Pirates pregame presented by WB Mason on Root Sports. Baseball time is just around the corner.
Smell it. As is playoff hockey, Staggy. As is playoff hockey. We're getting there.
Here's Martin trying to make a play. He's going to have to back up here and hurry because the Sharks are going the other way. It's Nieto again, dumping into the right wing side. Marleau over to get it. Paul Martin beat him to it, moved it to center. Crosby trying to pick the puck of Braun, and he does. Crosby closing in, centered for Bennett, and it was broken up by Braun, who recovered to make a nice play. Now Hornquist for Crosby. Drops it off to Letang closing in. He centers on it, goes right through the goal mouth. Hornquist was driving the net, but he couldn't get a stick down. Now Letang to Paul Martin. The Penguins are doing a good job here in the offensive zone. Now one of the Sharks is dumped. It was Nieto. He gets himself up as Letang carries it all the way to the end boards. Crosby working hard behind the net. Sidney Crosby steps out. He finds Bennett. The shot is blocked. Now a quick shot by Letang. Crosby there. And it went behind the goal. How did he not score?
I don't know how.
And it's cleared down by the Sharks.
I don't know how it didn't get in. It was near the goal line. Bo Bennett out there in place of Braun, who was in the box, had to come out. He had a few seconds on the ice, so Mike Johnson elected to go with Bo Bennett on this unit with Hornquist and Crosby, and it looked to me like the puck was going to get across the goal line, and somehow, some way, Crosby was denied on that post. I don't know if it was the stick of Nieto who got in there or not, but it came to the left of Niemi, and it just did not cross the goal line. There is Nieto shutting off Crosby from that post area.
The Sharks have called a timeout. Sidney Crosby was a -5 in a game here last year. And don't think he hasn't remembered that, stored it up in his memory banks, because he was talking about it today in the locker room, telling Max Lapierre about it. He said it was a tough game for me. He said, I don't think I was as bad as that, but he said it was just a tough night. And now he's really trying to get that first goal ever against San Jose.
Well, he had a long delay in St. Louis this year where they had to go to replay for well over 5 minutes, and they said no goal. Take a look at the overhead. Hornquist again, Steggy, right in the face, and look at that puck staying out. Nieto and Crosby went for that puck at the same time. You could see their sticks converge on the puck when it was in the air.
And Hornquist is whacking the glove of Niemi, and the puck's nowhere near it.
Maybe he thought it was.
It always is in his mind, I think. The goalie must hate him by the end of the game. Here's Malkin now, back to Pouliot. Como a drive. Good save made by Niemi on Blake Como, with Malkin lurking in front.
That's why you touch up that glove sometimes. And Niemi has been good with the pads, now good with the glove. Kunitz in front. And then you see Malkin get to the front of the net. He tried to redirect it. Then he was looking for a rebound. Anything, a bobble or anything from Niemi.
Imagine the feeling of exhilaration if the Penguins can finally get a puck behind Niemi. He's been really good. They got to find a way to get it in there. Maybe it'll be Hornquist making it 8-8. He's got 7-7. Crosby wins the draw to Pavelski. Pouliot dumps it deep. Less than a minute remaining in the period. And now the Penguins have to back up. Glove down by Lovejoy. He hammers it off the boards right back into the Shark zone. Niemi leaves it there for Brendan Dillon, and around now for Mueller. Back to Dillon. Up the right wing boards. Carlson and Pavelski team up trying to get it out. The Penguins continue to pressure. Sharks finally able to lift it out to center, and look out here. Lovejoy and Pouliot have to get back. Carlson shoots it up high, and Fleury made the save. Crosby looks for the puck. Can't find it, but Malkin does. 24 seconds to go in the period. Malkin had it stripped away. Thornton, the man who took it. Now Malkin returns the favor and steals it away from him. One more rush here maybe for the Penguins before the end of the period. Hornquist dumps it to the net. Niemi keeps the play alive. 11 seconds remaining. And the Sharks want to just get it out if they can. They do. They dump it the length of the ice. And it's an icing call with 4.4 seconds to go. Opportunity here for the Penguins.
Penguins had their two-headed monster on the ice, Daggy, for the first time in the game other than a power play, and they got caught on a 3-on-2, and you're going to see Lovejoy look around, assess the situation, force the high shot. So Fleury knows the shot's coming over him. It's not going to go under him, and down low he's able to Lovejoy, it was good timing. The timing has to be perfect there. Not able to pass the puck across, and only one option, that high shot.
Face-off win. Letang shoots it and it's blocked. And now Paul Martin to the puck. He fires, and that one's wide. So the Penguins won the draw. Sutter winning the face-off against Joe Thornton. But Letang's shot not on the money. Let's go to Robin Jay for our second intermission.
Doggy Bob, thanks very much. Great goaltending again by Niemi and Fleury, too, for the Penguins.
Yeah, odd man breaks for both teams, you know, and they're working hard. They're just trying to generate so much. And then one opportunity, then it goes back the other way. The goaltending has been good right from the beginning, and it's continuing through the second.
All right, stick around. Dan Potash is going to catch up with Sidney Crosby. Jay's going to telestrate. He's also going to give you his thoughts on what the Pens need to do to break through and win this game in San Jose when we return in the second intermission report. Only one goal. There's been plenty of action. If you're just joining us, here's what you missed, presented by your Western PA Honda dealers.
Now the Penguins have a chance here for a breakaway. It's Winnick shooting. Save made by Niemi. Penguins are 2 for 2 on the penalty kill, but now they score. And the pass for Gaudreau is beyond his reach. Now a chance for Hurdle with a goal. And Fleury somehow made a glove save on Thomas Hurdle, who looks up to the heavens. He can't believe it. LaPierre. Now Tierney in front. Stylish shot, and Fleury flops to stop him. It comes through. And turning is Pouliot shooting. Kudit's there, he missed the net.
All right, I am now joined by assistant coach Gary Agnew. And Gary, your offense seems to be optimistic in feeling that they will continue to get good chances, eventually find the back of the net. Can your defense continue to do a solid job in keeping the Sharks to just one goal?
Well, I think that's the key. I think we've got to continue to play the way we've played defensively and make sure we don't give them any opportunities. But at the same time, obviously, we need to create and get a goal. So keep playing the same way we've played the first two periods. We've created chances. Gave them a few too many that period probably, so we got to be careful of that. But we keep going to the net and getting screens. We'll get one eventually.
Coach Agnew, thank you.
My pleasure.
Paul Steigerwald, take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Dan. And Bob, Sidney Crosby has got a lot of life tonight. He's come that close to scoring, and he's got to find a way to get around Marc-Edouard Vlasic and do it.
Yeah, Vlasic's been good on him. You know, Couture's been there. At times we've seen really everybody. Hurdle we saw at the end of the first period of play. But Vlasic's the main guy. He did it in junior hockey. He's doing it right now. And these 1-0 games have been highly entertaining. First in LA and then now here. And the Penguins on the wrong side of it at this point. But as Gary Agnew said, if we keep getting our chances, and Marc-Andre Fleury, he made 4 grade A saves at least in that second period of play. And there's Gary. Marc-Andre Fleury. He has faced 21 shots.
5-1-1 in his last 7 starts on the road, Marc-Andre Fleury. Antti Niemi, we've said it, we'll say it again, looking for his first win on home ice since January 31st. And playing like a guy who's trying to get that monkey off his back right now in front of the home fans. But the Penguins have other ideas. Let's see what they can do here in the third period. Mike Johnston encouraging his players. Let's see if the Penguins can find a way to get on the board here and put themselves in a position for a possible sweep up the West Coast. Now the puck is dumped into the San Jose zone, and Hornquist wheels it over to the corner. Logan Couture moved it out to center where Lovejoy whacks it right back into the Sharks zone. Niemi sets it up for his defense. Marc-Edouard Vlasic will carry it out now for San Jose. And he dumps it in, and Fleury got out quickly to stop it for Derek Pouliot. Fleury stopping all 15 shots he faced in the second period. Here's Spaulding dumping it in off the boards, trying to get after it himself. Spaulding in there nicely to get to the puck first. Now the Penguins work the area behind the net. Stepping out with it is Downey to Scuderi, and across now to Cole. A drive is blocked. Centering pass. Oh boy. Sutter wanted to one-time that puck as it came through, and he fanned on it. Now it's dumped in. Hurdle dumping into the corner. Cole goes back, takes the hit from Hurdle. But then Scuderi follows on to try to get a hold of it. Loose and jabbed at by Tierney right through the goal mouth. Downey takes it there ahead to Sutter. Sutter into the San Jose zone for Spaulding, and he shoots it up high off a stick. And it comes right over to Joe Thornton.
Patient, very patient with the puck, waiting for the change.
Jumbo Joe comes to center. I saw him today walking in the hallway, Bob. He had ice packs all over him. So he is a guy who's a big target out there, and I'm sure he takes his lumps.
You know he does, and there's a big lump. Oh, boy.
Yeah, a good hit by Chris Letang as he really drilled Carlson, and now the Penguins on the attack. Como to Malkin. Back for Como, and off the boards from Martin out of his reach, and Letang will have to go back and get it. Remember, Letang and Carlson had a battle earlier in the game. Letang again, look at that, dodging the check of Scott. He felt that big man coming and just lured him towards the boards and spun away from it.
Carlson went down the runway to the dressing room. He did not see Letang coming down on him as he carried the puck behind the net.
Now Malkin in hunting for the puck against Vlasic behind the net. Braun there as well. Malkin with 3 teal jerseys around him. Back to the point. Bo Bennett floated it towards the net. Make that Lovejoy on the ice playing defense with Pouliot. And now Lovejoy again fires it off a leg to the corner, and Malkin takes it there. Up top now to Como. Como, Malkin, and Winnick. Lovejoy and Pouliot for the Penguins. Winnick good on the wall, but had it wander off his stick. He'll go get it. Start the play again in the neutral zone. Over to Ben Lovejoy. Lovejoy uses his wheels to get the puck into the Sharks zone against Braun. One hands it in behind the net for Winnick. And Winnick shielded the puck away from Marleau so that LaPierre could get it. Good play again by Winnick. And now LaPierre pressured by Burns. And Burns, the game he played in here last year, and I've seen him do that right there, just reminiscent. He can be a real force at times. And
you're right, he did take a game away last year. Yeah, he scored physical he was.
He scored the game. Right, he scored 2 goals in the 3rd period of that game last year. Burns is celebrating his 30th birthday today, and his birthday suit is camouflage today. Now here comes Ian Cole. He comes in over the line. He dumps it in around the right wing corner. Crosby in after it. Back out to Scuderi. Now Crosby back to the corner. Centers for Hornquist, the shot. Oh, and he sailed it high and wide. Another great chance for Patrick Hornquist there. He just whipped it wide. And now icing is charged to the San Jose Sharks.
Chris Letang with a big hit a couple moments ago on Carlson. Carlson looking for the puck, and Letang hit him hard. He went into the glass. There's the spin on Scott. Scott's a big man, and there's the suit, if you can see it.
Brent Burns, look at that beard. He's got tattoos all over him. And he carries that military-style backpack, too, into the rink.
Might have a few snakes back there.
He does. He has a menagerie of reptiles at home. Here's Malkin with it now. Malkin out for Como. He tried to pull the trigger, couldn't do so. Now Letang will get after the loose puck. Letang back to the front of the net, and a glove save made by Niemi.
Well, I didn't see it coming through, but Niemi obviously did. He's seeing everything tonight. The Penguins trying to get a little bit of a cycle going from high to low, activating the defense, looking for that bounce, and trying to get in front. His hand and shields away Chris Kunitz from the front of the net, so Niemi can see that puck coming through. 25 Penguin shots in the game.
Mueller sent it up the wall, and it's tipped back to center where Martin throws it right back to the line. Hornquist chips it to the corner, took a hit from Mueller, but Crosby on the puck, threw it right through the goal mouth. It comes through to Letang, back to the net, and Hornquist was trying to tip that one in, but it went wide. Thornton just whips it off the glass and back into the Penguin zone. Paul Martin going back for it. Martin sent it up the wall for Sidney Crosby. Now taken by Brendan Dillon, and he throws it out to center to the right wing and John Scott. He leaves it now for Goudreau, whose shot is kicked away by Fleury to the corner. Goudreau trying to pry it free along the wall. Sutter is there. So is Derek Pouliot. Pouliot got it up the wall. Sutter continues to work. Down he goes down. Sutter carries it back to center ice. Good work by the Penguins on the boards there. Sutter to the net. Backhands it through the goal mouth under the glove of Niemi. And now Lovejoy pinched. And Downey with an excellent play to get back and cover up. Lovejoy pinched. If Downey doesn't make that play, maybe the Sharks are off to the races.
Well, they are off to the races. The Penguins are activating their D. You saw Letang on the last shift. Lovejoy there, down by 1. Now under 15 minutes in the third. There goes Pouliot.
Pouliot to the goal. He almost pulled off one of those coast-to-coast moves we see him do in junior. And we have some highlights of him doing that very thing in Portland, but just couldn't finish the play that time at the NHL level. But he will someday, don't worry. He's got it in him. Here's Winnick back to center. Knocked off the stick. Wingels looks to the right wing for Tierney. Scuderi stepped up on him. Now Scuderi under pressure. Wingels couldn't carry the puck. Scuderi took it away and threw it out to center. Hannon sent Dillon back into the corner, up the wall now. And the Penguins regroup in the neutral zone, but taken away by Wingels, who got it to the net. Fleury steers it aside for Ian Cole. Great pace to this game. Scuderi to Winnick. So much talent on the ice. Malkin trying to get it forward. Bo Bennett comes over. Bo Bennett collided with his teammate Winnick. He went down in a heap. He goes to the bench. As Ian Cole has it now. Winnick also goes off. Cole, nice play. The stick handle around and move it along for Como. Down the wall, Como just driving right to the corner. Dumps it back around to the right side. Letang pinching in against Marleau. Over to help out is Kunitz, but the Sharks come away with it. Nieto at center, gains the red line. Malkin tried to hip check him, but missed him. Back into the corner, Martin sent it up the wall for Evgeny Malkin. Malkin ahead for Kunitz. And now Letang knocks it out of midair. It's a high stick on the puck.
Well, Letang, he's one talented defenseman, but so is Pouliot. And here he is navigating left, right, all the way through the defense.
We invited you to tweet the booth, and we got a good question from one of our viewers. Any word on Kasperi Kapanen and whether or not he's got a shot at coming to Pittsburgh next season? Maybe this season, right, Bob?
Yeah, we might see him this year. He's having a pretty good year. He's got 11 goals in 40 games, 21 points. He had 7 goals last year in 47 playing in that Finnish Elite League. So for Kapanen, the first overall pick, 22nd overall, in the first round for the Penguins. There's a chance you could see him when their season ends, Stag. You might see him in a Penguin uniform come playoff time. He might just skate with the guys. We'll wait and see what happens.
Quick shot by Thornton is stopped by Fleury, and he holds on to it. On the latest Inside Penguins Hockey, the players share some of the biggest lies they've ever told. Mike Johnston reflects on his first coaching job and its effect on one of his former players, and much more. Inside Penguins Hockey tonight after postgame on Root Sports. The Penguins are 0-11-4 when trailing after 2. There's Braun with it. One of 2 teams with no regulation wins in that situation. The other one is Winnipeg at 0-17-4, believe it or not. Here's Joe Thornton with it now. Braun comes around and dumps it behind the goal. Past Thornton's stick to Vlasic. Right back for Jumbo Joe behind the goal, but it bounced away from him, and Letang up the wall now for Perron. And Perron got it through to Crosby. He's got a Stefan Karlsson cutting in. Back in. He scores! Crosby finally scores against the Sharks and ties the game.
I tell you, San Jose made a play behind the net. The puck took a terrible bounce behind Marc-Andre Fleury, went by Thornton, and then you can see that bouncing puck is played up by Letang to Perron behind his back, and you can see right there, at least I could. Obviously Vlasic couldn't, because you could see Crosby had a head of steam. He was going to go by the first wave, and then he was able to use that backhand. And you can see Niemi moving from right to left, and Crosby with that backhand as good as any in the National Hockey League is able to whip it by the blocker side of Niemi. This thing is tied up at 1.
That's number 22 for Sidney Crosby, and none more pretty than that one this year. There's a shot wide by Burns. Hannon drills it back in deep to the corner. Pouliot cleared it away, and right on the right wing tape of Steve Downey. Ahead now for Spalling, and he had to take it away, but now Sutter takes it away. He shoots. He hit the goal post. Sutter with a long wrist shot, just missed. Downey again to the right point. Lovejoy with a blast, intentionally wide. It's frozen by Niemi at the side of the goal. Crosby, is 22. Goals now for him. Perron and Letang assisting, and Sutter almost made it 2-1.
Now there's the turnover right in the middle of the ice in your own zone, and just a rocket to the blocker side again as Niemi is leaning to his left. Again, going to his blocker side. Maybe they found something.
But I got to ask you about that backhander by Sid, because it was almost like a backhand snapshot.
Yeah.
Like he didn't just take the puck and then shoot it. He snapped it. Like he took a wind-up backhanded and put it into the goal.
I know.
It was something to see.
It's not as if he cradled it back, transferred the weight. You're going that fast, Daggy. You use your speed a little bit. And, you know, you've heard the Sharks talk about his lower body strength. Look out.
Right off the draw, another opportunity. Bo Bennett whipped it to the net. Niemi had to be alert. And now the Sharks come back 3 men strong down the right side. It's Gaudreau hit by Scuderi. Ian Cole to the corner. Don't forget now, the Sharks have had issues on their home ice. So with the Penguins getting that goal, it's like a, oh, here we go again type situation maybe for them. And then we get an offside play on the Penguins. Watch how Sid winds up with the backhander.
Well, Sidney Crosby is just soaring through the blue lines. And nobody's stepping in front of him. And when you let him go like that, just a snapshot on the backhand with that straight blade for Crosby. Still a pretty straight blade. He's able to use his speed. Now, Niemi's got to match his speed. Trying to cut his angle down, but the timing just not perfect. And it was just a great, great shot to that far side. And then you saw the Sutter bomb from way out high that almost put the Penguins up in this game. No comebacks for Pittsburgh. A hand pass here in the neutral zone.
Just
now
as we were saying that. Yeah, now the scenario's a little different here. Yeah, they're going to do it. They're going to do it one of these nights.
They are 67-67 for Malkin and Crosby. Tavares with a pair. The game winner in overtime for the Islanders is leading the pack with 72.
Well, you can learn a lot about Sidney Crosby and how he's feeling by just looking at the expression on his face in games. And he's had that intense look, the eye of the tiger again tonight here for the whole game. Like he really wanted to end that streak and win this game for the Penguins. Here's Martin dumping it in behind the net. And Malkin takes it up high. Malkin to Martin. Didn't have much he could do with that, but now Malkin keeps it in again. And Como can't take his pass, and he has to retreat. Blake Como drops it back to Paul Martin.
Now we talked about the keys for this game, Stig. We talked about patience. The Penguins have had it. Team D. Well, they had good Team D and a high stick on the puck there. Not called because the Penguins negate it. You got Marc-Andre Fleury. Wow.
Pouliot shot. Blocker save made by Niemi. Pouliot there again. Slithering along with the puck again. Pouliot dancing out of the check of Joe Thornton. Coming to the net. Shooting it. Save made by Niemi. And the rebound came off the end boards to him. Shot by Pouliot again. And that one went over the goal. Not sure if Niemi got a piece of that or not, but Pouliot with a great shift. Now put him into the corner. And Pouliot knows he better back up now. Joe Thornton lifts it to the line. Glove down by Ben Lovejoy. He can really skate, Ben Lovejoy. He's got great mobility. Goes back and fires it up the right wing boards.
Well, Steggy, I think Pouliot put on a show for us here again. And I don't know if Niemi stopped that last one with his head or not.
I think he might have. Now it's Crosby over to the puck. He and Hornquist. Patrick Hornquist gets his feet moving. Comes to center to the red line. Dumps it right to the net. Crosby goes to the bench. Spalling's out here along with Sutter. And stepping on is Steve Downey. Tierney steps around Downey. Following on down the wing is number 48, Thomas Hertl, and he's pinned against the boards by Ian Cole. Sutter reaching in against Tierney. Now it's Wingles with it to the point. Vlasic with a blast. Fleury just knelt down and let the puck hit him. And it came bounding off his equipment. Now Scuderi sends it back around for Ian Cole. Cole up the right wing boards for Sutter. And Vlasic fanned on the attempt to dump it in, and here comes Downey. Downey trying to get into the attacking zone. But the Sharks take it away. Downey reached out with a stick, and he took a penalty there. He was trying to clear the puck, and he tripped the player. And that is a tough penalty for Downey to take. He's not happy. His second one of the game. Giving Downey 195 penalty minutes on the year to lead the league.
And Crosby has tied it up here in the third in San Jose. You got to stay up for this one.
That penalty box can be a lonely place.
Especially in a 1-1 game with 9:13 left on the clock, holding the stick. You can see Vlasic trying to get that stick free from the grasp right there of Downey. And then the trip after as the stick went through. And he's trying to play with desperation. Just took it a little far. Got caught with a hand in the cookie jar. Now the Penguins with a big face-off to the left of Marc-Andre Fleury. There's Daniel Winnick. Nobody in the National Hockey League more shorthanded time than Daniel Winnick this year.
Right off the draw, the shot by Marleau, and a glove save made by Fleury on Patrick Marleau. And one of the Penguins, Winnick, was dumped in the circle away from the play, and he was pleading with the referee there, I think.
Yeah, Winnick is. He took the face-off. Now they're going to change the face-off, guys. Winnick gets one chance, then he gets interfered with a little bit by Pavelski off the draw. Now, right away, Mike Johnson says, we're changing our face-off, guys. We're not going to let Daniel Winnick, we're not sure about him in the draw, in Johnson's mind, lose another one.
Pavelski won it cleanly, and a shot by Burns, a heavy slap shot. He missed the net. Spaulding races over, chops at the puck to get it all the way down.
I mean, it's hard for Sutter to try to win that. That's not his best side. He's got to try to whack it to the boards. You can't lose that face-off cleanly. That almost cost the Penguins the game.
Pavelski dumps it behind the net. There's Fleury. Back up off the glass it goes. Thornton got in the way of that. Scuderi had it and lost it. Burns moves it across. Couture to Burns. He's got a gigantic slap shot. Shot by Couture, blocked. Comes to Thornton. To Burns, the shot. Stopped. And it was blocked in front by Scuderi, and that hurt. And Scuderi is really stinging right now as he goes back, doubled over, back to the bench. And it's now Brent Burns moving it up the right wing to Joe Pavelski. We told you he leads the league with 17 second in the league with 17 power play goals. Burns with it across to Thornton. A minute to go on the penalty. Back up top it goes to Thornton. Burns shot it, and it was knocked away. To the near side, Thornton looking for it. Back to the point, and Burns. Burns finds Thornton. He's got a man sneaking in the back door. Now Burns looks for that man, and a center. It was Couture, and he fired it right through the paint too hard. Marleau couldn't tip it home. Now Marleau after it behind the net along with Couture. And the Penguins, Paul Martin got a hold of it, and he's able to clear it all the way down with 32 seconds to go.
Well, that was
on the penalty.
That was like escape from Alcatraz right there out here. And the Penguins were very fortunate that the Burns blast and Marleau missed a backhand backdoor tap in there on a really hard feed.
Sharks have control of it again with 16 seconds to go on the Downey penalty. It's Tierney with it. Their second unit on. Look out. And a chance for Hertl. And Fleury got the stick out there to deflect his shot. And again, Hertl is talking to the heavens.
Well, maybe he should put it between his leg and flip it over Fleury. That one worked a couple of years ago. And there is the stick on puck. Up over the glass. Scuderi, after he made a big block about 30 seconds ago, he got himself to the bench, came back out, and is killing the end of this penalty with 10 seconds left on it. Now Crosby's out killing the penalty, the left-hand face-off man.
Against Wingels, and Wingels won it to Braun, who has a little trouble with it. And he dumps it down into the corner. And the Penguins don't mind it if they're down there in the corner killing the penalty. That's a safe place to be, but it squirts out now to the point. Vlasic shot it up over the goal. Downey's on the ice. The Penguins killed it. And Crosby takes off. He's going to carry the puck ahead. And he lost it. It got wandered off the stick. It may have been knocked off by the back checker. Now Crosby again wheels it into the high slot. Kunitz there trying to settle it down. Kunitz couldn't get a hold of the puck, but it comes to Letang, the bully on at center ice. And
we got some going on. Kunitz
in a battle right in front of the Penguins bench.
Well, the players were changing on the play. I believe it was Hertl again in the middle of this. Right between the players' benches.
Hertl is really frustrated, as we saw earlier.
And there's a shot by Wingels on Pouliot. You know, the whole San Jose team are frustrated right now. We'll see if any power plays come out of this. Well, Hertl has been robbed 2 or 3 times in this hockey game by Marc-Andre Fleury. Kunitz will go over to the penalty box as well. It appears we're going to play on 4-on-4 action here.
Pittsburgh 14, minor penalty roughs.
2 roughs is what we got.
Tomáš Hertl is from the city of Prague in the Czech Republic. He sits down in the box. Kunitz as well, and we get a 4-on-4 situation. Buckle up for this little segment here with the Penguins and Sharks having some more ice to work with. It's been a pretty entertaining game. The goaltenders have been sensational here tonight. Sometimes the goalies just look like they're blocking everything. Like you don't, say you think, well, they're making it look easy because they have so much equipment. But this is different. These guys are making spectacular saves at both ends.
Yeah, acrobatic saves, that kind of thing, through a lot of traffic. everything. We've seen a little bit of everything. That last power play by the Sharks looked really dangerous to me, and the Penguins got away with that penalty kill.
4-on-4. Letang, dangerous in this situation, moved up. Now Malkin there. He shot it in the end. He made the save. Hornqvist set him up. Now it's the Sharks' turn. Mueller dumps it to the corner. Letang is the other end of the rink. Goes back and takes a hit from Couture. Logan Couture bumped by Paul Martin, who took it away. Letang trying to help out his partner there, but it's taken by Marleau. Back down into the corner for Couture. Sharks change on the fly here. Couture brings it up high, gave it away to Letang. Now to Malkin. Malkin coming ahead. Look out! He went around Couture, but then Brendan Dillon with good back pressure took it away. Malkin was tired anyway. He's got to go to the bench. And the Penguins get fresh troops on in the 4-on-4. To the right wing, Wingels looking for the puck, but it goes off the stick to the corner. Wingels on the backhand, fanned on it. Taken down by Braun. Justin Braun dumps it in deep. Pouliot cut off the man Nieto so that they could come over to Crosby, who sends it back the other way. And pinching down is Braun with it. Braun behind the net for Wingels. Up top for Vlasic. Vlasic pressured by Crosby, got it to the slot, and a shot stopped by Fleury. Rebound loose. Wingels can't get a hold of it. The Penguins do. And it's Crosby coming back, downshifting now, swooping and looking back. Crosby really feeling confident right now, hanging onto the puck, goes to the right wing. And Perron couldn't take it cleanly. They all go to the bench. Penguins again make a change. Now 30 seconds to go on the 4-on-4. 5:14 to go in the third period. The game tied at 1. Spalling pressuring Brent Burns.
Boy, Braun has been overtaken many a time in this hockey game, and on the last shift he tried to backpedal and fell right on his numbers as Crosby had so much speed. He's not confident at all. You talk about Crosby being confident, there's a man on the other end of the stick.
I would think Brent Burns would be a very dangerous player for the Sharks in 4-on-4 hockey, and we didn't see that much of him on that sequence, did we? He's out there now, but it's over. And both teams are back at full strength. Here's Kunitz down the wing. Kunitz driving against Burns, and Burns cut him off. And the whistle blows with Niemi freezing the puck at the side of the cage.
Well, Burns is a big man. He was able to drape himself over Kunitz out of the penalty box. It's a battle right now. East versus West.
Logan Couture taken 9th overall in 07. A really good hockey player. Ian Letang. And a Subway sandwich of the game. Letang just flattened him.
Well, he flattened Carlson, did Letang here in this third period of play. Carlson did come back into the hockey game. He's been very physical. We saw some early cross checks from Letang to knock a man down in the corner. He continues to play that physical brand of hockey, does Chris Letang, and an assist as well for maybe the Norris Trophy winner this year.
Malkin pulls the puck to the wall. Kunitz to Letang. Letang to the net. Out of the reach of Niemi to the corner. Thornton goes back to get it. He lifts it to the line, didn't get it out. Martin held it in. Here's Kunitz with it now. Kunitz dancing, shooting, and Malkin with a backhander stop by Niemi. Ooh, that was a good backhand shot from Malkin. You saw Crosby score on one. Malkin's been scoring on him lately, too. Malkin protecting the puck against Mueller. Malkin snaps it out to Letang. Letang with his head up will skate it against Carlson, then turns, and Malkin playing like a defenseman right now as Letang moves up on the play. Now Malkin moves down low, and up top is Como as Letang returns to his defensive position. Penguins changing places right now in that offensive zone. Martin moves all the way up. Malkin got over. Como covers for the defenseman Martin and dumps the puck back in behind the net. And around for Letang. He feeds it in behind the goal. Mueller's there. Malkin picks his pocket. Malkin with the puck. At the end of his shift, Malkin on the backhand. The shot stopped, and the rebound right there. And Niemi's able to put the scissors on it and freeze it.
And this is all because Thornton didn't get the puck out. If you can recall, on the left wing wall, he backed up, he fanned on it, didn't get it out, and then it was all heck broke loose in the San Jose zone. Take a look at this first backhand by Malkin. Little pick play. There it is, stick on puck. Big save by Niemi to see it through the traffic. Look at him work. Cradling that puck and going to the backhand again. Feeling a lot of confidence.
Perron right there on the doorstep. He wants to score so badly right now. He's got 1 goal in his last 11. Penguins win the draw. Crosby fighting to get that puck in deep for Hornqvist. Back to in front of the net for Perron. He couldn't shoot it. Crosby gets a hold of it. Crosby to Pouliot. Pouliot dancing, shooting. Oh, it was deflected just wide. And Pouliot has that knack of getting pucks through. Here's a shot by Hornquist off the stick of Couture, and then an out to the point to Lovejoy. Back down behind the net, out of the reach of Perron. Pouliot pinches down. Hornquist holds it in. Nieto tried to get it out, couldn't do so. Hornquist racing over again. And he got there to jam things up. Following on is Perron. Hornquist goes to the net. His backhand shot is stopped. Niemi made another big save on Hornquist, who made all that play happen, and he pushed it to the goal again, and Niemi's able to freeze it in the paint. Incredible shift by Patrick Hornquist, David Perron, and Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, there's that motion you're talking about. Relentless effort by 72 Hornquist on a redirect first, and then corner work as they work it out of the corner. Another backhand save by Niemi, who's really tight to the ground here right now. Look at Perron. I mean, the Penguins are living in the blue paint right now. That is their ocean.
Look where Pouliot is. He moves up. He just has that instinct to get up around the net when he sees that havoc around the goal crease. He doesn't have any reservations about moving up.
When you got that great instinct, skating, you sneak in there behind your forward, and a face-off win for the Penguins.
Winnick with it. Sutter goes to the front of the net. Excellent work by the Penguins. They're just doing a great job. Shot by Winnick off a leg. And now trying to get a hold of it and get it out. It was Hurdle, but the Penguins able to keep it in again. And Brandon Sutter there jamming away at it. He got it free for Scuderi. The shot. Glove save made by Niemi. And no rebound.
That was like catching spring training right there for Niemi on the Scuderi shot.
Penguins have outshot the Sharks 10-7 in the third, Bob. They've really been coming on here in the last 5 or 6 minutes.
Look at this work. And once again, the Sharks get on the wrong side of the puck. You know, when you have that many people battling high in your zone, you gotta be on the defensive side of things. You can't assume you're gonna win that battle. Sharks don't mind if they give up 1 point to an Eastern Conference team. They gotta preserve their 1 point trying to get into the playoffs. I don't know why they would play it that way. Defense first for both clubs.
I like the fact that the Penguins are playing on their toes right now. Thornton lifts it out to center. A long pass comes through for Letang.
They're not afraid, are they? You can just sense it. They're a confident team right now. The Sharks not.
Yeah, the Sharks are hanging on for dear life right now on home ice where they've struggled. But Niemi is doing the job for them. He's giving them a chance to win this game. Como lifts it inside the line. And of course, Fleury was sensational in the second period. It has been a good game. A nice ebb and flow to this one. Back and forth. Now it's Pavelski trying to settle it down. Malkin looking to take it away from him. He knocked it down. He and Kunitz come ahead. Hornquist out here too. Here's Malkin shooting. Save made to the rebound. Kunitz trying to get it in front of the game, right in front of the goal. And Niemi able to flop on top of it with a glove.
Now Malkin with his energy at the red line kind of tripped up the Shark band a little bit. Their lower shins collide. And that leads to a 3-on-2, and then the rebound came right to Kunitz again. Kunitz has been that close. Here is a little bit of a slight trip, and then the 3-on-2 center drive by Kunitz comes right to his stick again off the pad of Niemi. And for Chris Kunitz, boy, you just sense he's getting closer and closer. Can't be getting further away.
Great face-off win for Crosby. Big pad save made by Niemi on Pouliot, who got another shot through. And taken now by Lovejoy. He angles one up to the right wing. Hornquist ahead to Crosby, who shuffles it up into the right wing corner into the trapezoid. Niemi sent it around, and Nieto has it there for San Jose and works it out to center. Pouliot has it again, sends it up the wing, looking for David Perron. Now is Braun dumping it long to the goal. It's gloved down by Fleury. 1:07 to go in the third period, and here comes Derek Pouliot skating with confidence. Pouliot looks it over, comes to center, perfect pass for Crosby, and then he had the puck knocked off his stick. Now hustling back to get it is Winnick. One hands it along for Letang. And Letang turns with 50 seconds remaining. There's Pouliot again to the right wing and Winnick. Winnick comes to center, gains the red line and dumps it in. Back around it comes for Burns, who shovels it back over to the far corner. Winnick is there. 38 seconds to go in regulation time. Winnick working the corner against Hurdle. Out to Spaulding. Spaulding shoots, and it's blocked away from the front of the net. Spaulding had time to pull the trigger there. Now the puck is shot over the glass. Is this going to be a penalty?
I think it is. Talk about a nervous team. They're saying a tip. One of the referees saying tip. The other's saying, no, I don't think so. And what do we got? The penalty box doors are open. We have no call. Yes, we do. I'm not sure. One referee thought it was tipped and the other said no. And we're waiting on the call.
And it will be a penalty against the Sharks.
57, delay of game.
Well, that took a little while to decide. As we see on the wall, a little bit of pressure. You're looking for the glass as a defenseman. And there's no glass there. No tip either. And the Penguins are on a power play here.
And this power play would carry over into overtime. So you know how dangerous those can be. Now here's Letang back into his own zone with 16 seconds to go in regulation. UPMC Sports Medicine power play. And the Sharks steal and drive it all the way down the ice. Fleury gloves it down. 8 seconds to go. Taken by Letang. The Penguins will earn a point here in San Jose and go for a second one. There's the horn ending the game. Regulation time, and the Barrel.com overtime is coming up. A lot of time to work with on the power play. 1:34 remaining on the penalty to Tommy Wingels for delay of game. And the Penguins got another point in the books. Well, we have Barrel.com overtime coming up, but first of all, let's take a look at the last overtime situation on Saturday night.
In Los Angeles, Patrick Hornqvist would not be denied. Martin moves into the play, turns the puck over to Hornqvist after he was hammered behind the net. And that quick snapshot eludes the netminder. Right in that 6-hole there, right between the blocker arm and the body. And that was that as Hornqvist, he's going to play to the final buzzer. You had the feeling this one might go past 60 as well.
Well, the Penguins, we talked about how they hadn't had a win since last season, you know, coming from behind when they trail after 2 periods of play. They're in a position to do that for the first time this year.
With a 4-on-3 opportunity, they've scored 1 goal that way. They're the overtime goal scorers this year, 6 of them for Pittsburgh. 4-on-3, here we go. We got minute 32 and ticking right now on the penalty to Wingel.
And it's Braun and Vlasic are back. Couture up front for the penalty killers. And the Penguins with Crosby, Kunitz, Letang, and Malkin in the 4-on-3 power play. Crosby controls it. Sidney Crosby looks it over, drops it back now for Malkin. Kunitz is in front of the net. Here's Letang with it. Letang holding it to Malkin. No shot yet. Malkin to the net. Kunitz there. Oh, he just shot it off the side of the cage. Then Kunitz stumbled and tripped over the goal cage. Now he's trapped. And Braun comes back for the Sharks shorthanded, but he's got to go off, so he dumps it in. Oh, boy, it took a crazy hop off a partition. Didn't go that back to the front of the net. Here goes Malkin now. 44 seconds to go on the power play for the Penguins here in the overtime.
Carry it in. They're going to let you carry it in. Let's get some shots.
Malkin's going to try to do it himself. Now he moves it across to Crosby. To Letang. Hornqvist is in front of the net. Malkin holds it. Crosby. Letang. To Malkin. Letang has to stop it on the backhand to Gino. He shoots it and is blocked by Pavelski. Letang trying to maintain possession. Hornqvist to Malkin. Crosby's open. The shot. Niemi came over to make the save on Crosby. Malkin can't stop it. He has to go back to get it.
I thought it was over right there. The Penguins had the Sharks out of their triangular formation.
There goes Hornqvist shooting. Oh, he just missed with a blocker shot of Niemi. And now Paul Martin takes it. Pavelski comes ahead. Pavelski down the wing. Poke check by Paul Martin. Takes him into the corner. Moves it along for Derek Pouliot.
Well, 1 look, maybe 2 good looks on that power play was it.
Here comes Perron. He's got a chance here with Hornqvist. Shoots it. And it's blocked by the defenseman Dillon. And the Sharks go storming back. And Hornqvist is shaken up a bit as he goes back to the bench slowly. Thornton shoots it wide. Over to the far side and Dillon, but he's going to back up now against Como. Joining the rush is Perron, driving to the net. Como holds the puck, drops it out. Pouliot the shot, and Niemi makes the save on Pouliot. Back goes Joe Thornton the other way for San Jose, down the wing with shot, and he missed the goal.
This is old-time hockey right now. Another 2-on-1.
2-on-1 for the Penguins. Como down the wing, Sutter driving to the net. The shot up high, and up into the netting. Wow.
2-on-1s and 3-on-1s, but nothing real clean players were gassed at the end of things, and Sidney Crosby on the end of the 4-on-3 had one chance to finish it right here. It wasn't quite in the wheelhouse, hit the side of the net. Como looking for the late man, Pouliot with Perron in front. He knocks his man into the goalie. That was fun.
I thought Pouliot might win it right there, Bobby.
That was a track meet up and
Como
down.
put it on a platter for him. Here's a face-off win. Letang with a shot. And that's deflected, and Kunitz hustles to get to the puck first. 2:24 to go in the overtime period. Couture finds Wingels.
Wingels with a new life after the delay of game penalty. He's in the box. Couldn't believe it.
Crosby down the wing. Kunitz comes there with him. So does Letang. Crosby tried to feed it through to Letang. He couldn't get it there. Now he's got to hustle back and play defense. Couture down the wing. Look out. Shoots it off the arm of Fleury. Big save there. He put the chicken wing out to stop it. Now Couture had it poked away and is taken by Kunitz. And Kunitz throws it ahead. Crosby tries to steal it. And it's Hannon moving it ahead now. Carlson finds Hurdle. Hurdle dangerous. Curling with it. Goes right side. Burns with a shot. Letang got in the way of that. He's got the puck with 1:40 to go. Gets it ahead to Malkin. Malkin against two Sharks. Now 4. The Penguins are changing behind him. Hannon all over Malkin. Martin came over, but Hannon got it back. Right side, a shot. And it hit a leg. And it was Carlson who took it, and he turned and went right to the bench.
Now Fernandez, I love this. This is great hockey.
1:19 remaining in the game. 39 shots on the board for the Penguins right now. Niemi has been spectacular for the Sharks. And here's Pavelski. He's a game breaker. He and Thornton on the ice right now. Malkin steals the puck. He's tired, though. Moves it ahead to Hornquist. Hornquist down the wing. Looks back. Hornquist holds the puck to Lovejoy. Takes the shot. Now he banks it off the boards, and Niemi plays the bank shot. Keeps play going. 49 seconds to go in the overtime. Pavelski pressured by Perron. Como comes out. Dillon moves it ahead to Pavelski, and now over to Vlasic. He's got some room as he skates down the wing. Vlasic, challenged there by Como, brings it in deep. Cole back to the puck for Pittsburgh. Hit by Vlasic, they both go down. Cole moved it behind the net, has it again. Stick handle smartly. Cole moves it ahead to Como. 23 seconds to go in the overtime. Here's Perron with it. Cole, the defenseman, moving up. Perron centered it off the stick of Niemi. Out to Pouliot. Feeds it off the boards for Cole. And he works it along for Perron, who protects the puck with 9 seconds to go. Perron to Pouliot. The shot. He hit the goal post. Pouliot again. He's tripped. 2 seconds to go. 2-on-1. Marleau down the wing. Marleau closes in. And time expires before he pulls the trigger. I don't know why he waited to shoot, but he never pulled the trigger.
He had no idea how much time was left. Some players would look up to the clock in the end zone. Marleau had no idea. 18,000 strong were yelling shoot. And he just ran out of time after Big Ben rang at the other end. Pouliot off that bar to the blocker side of Niemi, and that's incredible hockey.
That was a Barrel.com overtime to remember.
Wow. Well, let's go to the shootout.
I would love to have seen 51 win it right there. You just love to see the kid get a goal because he's really playing well. And Niemi has been tremendous tonight. Now it's time for a Barrel.com shootout.
So we're going to go straight to it. They're not going to clean the ice. And a little shovel. And here we go. Pouliot was very active. Yes, defensemen are dangerous. Perron found him with a little dish pass. He went against the grain.
There's Niemi out challenging again. Niemi's doing that all night.
How about the desperation? Even at the end of these plays, you see Malkin going down, Perron doing somersaults. I mean, great stuff for Pittsburgh. Put 40 shots on Niemi tonight. And now they have to decide it in the shootout, and here we go.
Joe Pavelski, a 32-goal scorer this year.
He's dangerous in the shootout.
Against the Flower. Pavelski to the goal. Holds it. Never got the shot away.
He lost it. He lost the puck. He was patient. He gave him everything. He gave Fleury everything, and Fleury was down on his stomach. And at the last moment, Pavelski had the puck just go off his stick and into the corner.
Now who do the Penguins send onto the ice? They're going to start with David Perron.
Now shooting for the Penguins,
Perron. 12 for 38 in his career. In against Niemi. Perron to the forehand, and Niemi reached out with a left pad and made the save on David Perron. So no goals yet.
And what we've seen in this hockey game, evident that Niemi likes to use his long legs and his pads. And when you make a move, try to elevate it if you can. Tougher, easier said than done.
Couture for San Jose. He comes very slowly in against Fleury. He steps out to challenge. Now he speeds up, and Fleury makes the save with his left pad.
Well, he came out with a poke check. Couture went to the backhand, tried to go 5-hole with the change of speed, and the Flower would have none of it.
Now Sidney Crosby, who has the goal in regulation tonight. Looking to get a shootout goal. The fans booing as Crosby takes the puck with him against Antti Niemi. Crosby can't score. Niemi does it again with a left pad. Same thing.
Crosby, you know, he tried to elevate it. Not sure it was on our backside if he was able to get it to the glove or not. But he didn't come with much speed. He slowed down at the hash marks, went to the backhand. Yeah, he got it up in the glove, right above that pad.
Melker Karlsson.
He's back after the hit.
Fleury challenges Karlsson. He scores. He got it in the 5-hole. Now the Penguins have to score.
Well, not much of a book on Karlsson. Big rangy man. Right-hand shooter. Comes with speed after there was no speed. The first two shooters, he changes with speed. Opens the wickets and puts it 5-hole. And Letang, the man who hit him in the third period, gets a chance to match him here.
Chris Letang. Scores!
Just got under the stick. The paddle of Niemi put it down. And the Penguins have life in San Jose. Look at that. He opened up the legs. It went off the paddle, the left pad, the right pad, and in. And now Patrick Marleau, the all-time leading scorer.
Patrick Marleau. Fleury gloves it.
The Penguins have a chance. They still have a chance to get their first win while trailing after 2 periods this year.
And their first win in 17 years in San Jose. Malkin with an opportunity to do just that.
Would you want anybody else?
Against Antti Niemi, Evgeny Malkin. Stopped.
Wow. Niemi waited him out. Malkin, patient, head up, looking to the blocker side. Niemi was there.
Here comes the woolly mammoth, Brent Burns.
Another long, rangy guy.
I'll say. Fleury tried to poke check, and then Burns shot it wide.
The old mock poke check, trying to put a little anxiety through the head of the shooter. Maybe he did, maybe it worked.
Kunitz has been a good shootout guy over the years. He's up next.
Ooh. I like when he swoops way to the right-hand side, Kunitz, and let's see what he's got up his sleeve. He's either got the shot of the deep when he can stop in front and bring it to the backhand.
He likes to go to the 5-hole. Let's see if he can do it against the enemy. Kunitz cutting in, faking, shooting, stopped.
Wow, that was a little different. And once again, when you make the move on Niemi, if you don't get the wickets, it's got to go up. And there's no way Kunitz, after the shake and bake, can elevate that puck. He's just in a position where it's just almost impossible unless the puck's on edge. And now, Golden Joe.
Top of the 6th. Oh, yeah, Jumbo Joe with that long reach. There he comes. Goal post.
Wow, and you could just, the building just went quiet. It just went quiet. Everybody excited, puck on edge, then it flattens up. Fleury's deep in his crease. Thornton goes to the shot. And off the bar.
Sutter's been also very good in the shootouts in his career. He comes to the goal, and he shot it off the equipment of Niemi wide.
I thought it was going through.
So
he
did
had
I.
good pace. He used that pace with a quick shot as Niemi was moving backwards. And I thought for a second it was going to get through the legs. It went through the stick and the toe and out the other side.
Now, will he try anything crafty here? Hurdle, you know, he's got that one move he can do where he puts it between the legs. Would he try that in a shootout? We'll find out. Hurdle against Fleury. And he shot it wide.
I guess not. Merrick Malik did it. Hurdle took heat for doing it when he did it. And he comes in conventional. Fleury gives him the glove and takes it away. The player's not hitting it.
Bo Bennett, the California kid.
Oh, this would be great. Appropriate here, Staggy.
Yes, it would be, wouldn't it? Bo Bennett against Antti Niemi. The shot, no.
He had the wide open net. He was working with Rick Tocchet on the shootouts this morning. They were going over just this with Greiss in the net. Fleury off. Just a couple of players were left on the ice. He had everything. He had the 4x6 yawning at him, and it just went off the blades.
We've seen a lot of long shootouts this year in the NHL, more than we ever have.
Maybe the ice?
Some of that. I don't think the Penguins practice it as much as they used to, but Fleury showing no worse for wear there, but there's a backhand score by Wingels to give the Sharks the edge again, and now it's up to the Penguins to score to keep it going.
Wingels was the man who was in the box when the Penguins had a 4-on-3 power play to start the overtime, and one last chance, Downey.
So Downey has to score. Not someone you would expect to keep it going, but
great hands.
He's more skilled than you might think. You never know. Maybe he can do it. Boy, it certainly would be a huge thing if he could. Downey against Niemi. Stop. And the Sharks win again, and the Penguins still looking for their first win in San Jose since 1997. But they played a whale of a game here tonight. Antti Niemi is our McDonald's player of the game, and why not? He was sensational here in this game, making 39 saves and then coming up large in the shootout.
Oh, he was incredible. You got to give him his props, using the pads most of the night. Crosby with his first goal ever against the San Jose Sharks, and Niemi was good from start to finish. He put that left pad down on the ice, took away the 5-hole, and the Penguins, 40 shots wasn't enough tonight, Stagg. That's the best I've seen them play in San Jose since back in '97.
No question, and you have to say this too. The Penguins did a whale of a job on the West Coast. A couple of wins and a shootout loss, and they're feeling pretty good about themselves as they head back to Pittsburgh. Let's go back to Pittsburgh and Robin Jay.
Doggy Bob, thanks very much. Heck of a hockey game, Jay. I mean, just a great hockey game. Nice long shootout and an action-packed overtime. I mean, a great game even though the Penguins lost tonight.
You know, they had 93 attempts to, I believe, just under 60 for San Jose. Pittsburgh was really good in this game. I mean, it went back and forth. They both had their opportunities. The goaltending was just fantastic. We said all night, Niemi was good from the very beginning. He played that well. He kept it up. Sidney Crosby only one to beat him. But again, when you work that hard and you get opportunities, their speed, their drive, everything they're doing, all that's, I mean, and San Jose played a good game too. A lot of skill through their lineup. Their young forwards did a great job. Just Pittsburgh kept coming after them. And again, they get 1 point, but you're going to walk in that locker room. Obviously, you would like to get 2, but they played a great, hard game. Niemi was that good.
And just as we promised earlier in the game, it's Miller time, presented by Miller Lite, and it is Antti Niemi, who terrific. It obviously had been a long time. You heard you guys talk about it during the broadcast. It had been late January since he'd won a game at home, and he's able to come out and turn in a sterling performance and earn our Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite, as Niemi turns away the Penguins, and San Jose beats Pittsburgh by the final score of 2-1. Well, stick around. We have a lot coming your way on Penguins post-game. Extended highlights from a highly entertaining game. Post-game reaction from the Pens locker room. Plus, you hear from head coach Mike Johnston. Jay is going to tell us straight for you. He'll also give you his thoughts on the Penguins' return home on Thursday night. Highlights from around the league and more. All that and more coming up on Penguins postgame.